kids. It's time to get some SML podcast all up in that.
What's up, everybody? This is the SML podcast. I am your host, Joe. Joining as usual, Cole. How are you doing?
I'm doing all right. I'm as good as it gets.
As good as it gets.
Yeah. How are you, Joe?
I have Coltrane on my lap staring at me, so.
That's more Coles than you can shake a stick at.
I know. Cole and Coltrane at the same time.
Coltrane was my high school nickname.
Was it?
Yeah. And my friends would just, like when I was in college, if my friends wanted to know if I was in the dorm, they'd just shout, choo-choo.
and is your cat Coltrane because of John Coltrane, the jazz dude, or
Gears of War?
A different
Her full right, official name when we filled out the papers at the pet shop is Coltrane runs on whole grain, baby. Woo.
we got a cat recently, actually, and he's called Jimmy Kittens. So we went for a kind of mobstery sounding name. But he's
That's
not very
name.
Jimmy Kittens. Yeah, it's not bad. He's not very threatening though. He's just like always a kitten. So.
Anyway, as you could tell by the added voice, we're being joined by a guest this week, Matt Cundy of Digerati. How are you doing?
Oh, I'm very good, thank you, Joe. Thanks for having me on.
It's great to have you back on. It's been a while since you've been here. Since you have been, Digerati has been blowing up, it seems. You guys are pumping out tons of good games. Lots of good stuff is coming out. Lots of good stuff coming out next week on Xbox. It just came out this week on PlayStation. Tell us about this motherload of games you guys have been building up for Christmas.
So the motherload of games is so we've got an end of year kind of blizzard splurge of seasonal releases, and they are, as you said, they go out on PlayStation 4 now. They come out this week. Xbox on the Christmas Eve, I believe, which also happens to be my birthday. So
well, happy birthday!
Happy birthday.
Thank you. Not that it's got anything to do with the Xbox releases or anything. And then Christmas Day for the Nintendo Switch. So we've got there's I think on the Xbox there's 8 in total. One of those being a bundle, which is insane value. But do you want me to do the full shill now? So I just go full PR
I figured
guy.
we'd take them one at a time. Instead of just trying to drill everything all at once.
Well, if we go in alphabetical order, just to save playing favourites with any of them, that's probably the best way of doing it. So the first one would be Demon Pit.
So Demon Pit, tell us about that one. Give us the sales pitch on that one.
Okay, so Demon Pit is very recognisable as anyone who's seen it and grew up playing kind of the old school FPS games of the 90s. So like the Doom games. It's got a very low poly visual aesthetic. And it's an arena shooter, wave-based arena shooter, and it's fiery and hell-like, and you do lots of shooting of skulls. If you've ever played any, have you played Devil Daggers? That's another one that it's kind of like that kind of relentless, that kind of wave thing. So it's pretty challenging. You play in an arena, and the arena changes after each wave as well. And yeah, it's a score-based as well, so there's leaderboards in there. You've got a variety of weapons, and the thing that kind of makes it slightly different from other games, it's got a soul grapple, which is basically like a grapple hook, so you can quickly navigate around the arena as well and get up to kind of higher spots. So yeah, I'm a big fan of Demon Pit. I really like this, and this one's coming out. This is actually a brand new game. It's a new IP, so a lot of the stuff we do on Digerati are games that are already out on Steam, and we bring them to console. But Demon Pit is one that we have brought out ourselves. So it's fast. It's challenging. It's kind of it's brutal. And if you're a fan of the old school kind of arena FPS games, then from the 90s, then it's going to be up your street.
Cole, I figure this one is right up your street as well.
Yeah, I was pretty into the Demon Pit. It actually reminded me a lot of Ziggurat, but without the roguelite element.
Right.
If you remember. A lot in its appearance and its monsters and the way that the first person movement was. I was just like, yeah, this is very Ziggurat.
What version of it were you playing?
I never think to check versions. I can check it really quick though.
Oh no, that's cool. No, I meant, were you playing it on Steam or on Xbox?
Oh no, on Xbox. Yeah.
Gotcha.
Yeah, everything we cover in terms of Digerati is everything that we covered is Xbox for this episode.
Gotcha.
My computer would explode if I tried to play anything on Steam.
So would mine.
It handles The Sims and that's it.
So it's pretty cool. Yeah, I've been enjoying playing Demon Pit. I fired up the Xbox One because we're having a full day of streaming tomorrow, actually, on the Digerati Mixer channel. If anyone's around, it's the waking hours it's the business hours, I should say, of the UK. So between 9 and 5, I'm just going to do an 8-hour stream of all the Christmas stuff. But that's going to be depending on where you are. I mean, Pacific time, that's like 1 in the morning to 9 in the morning. So may not be that I put that much of a US audience. But yeah, so I'm going to be going through. So I fired up all the games today on Xbox, just to give them a go. And yeah, I've sunk a fair few hours into Demon Pit on Steam, doing pretty well on the leaderboards. It's a tough game. But yeah, I every time I fire it up just to try something or test something, I always end up putting more minutes, hours into it than I intend to, which I always think is a good sign. So, I'm, like I say, big fan. Wow, what was that?
One of my cats going after another one of my cats.
Was that Coleman or Coltrane, I should say. Coltrane.
I don't know who instigated it, but I think the one who hissed was Peaches. We lovingly refer to her as Bitch Face because she doesn't get along with anybody else.
Right. Okay. So watch out for that cat.
Yes. Yeah. Demon Pit kicked my ass. I'm not that great at first person shooters, and you need to be good at first person shooters to be good at Demon Pit. And it was just my ass.
How far
is
did you
raw.
make it?
I think I made it to wave 3.
Wave 30?
3. The 1, 2, 3.
All right. Yeah, even I can laugh at that because I think I made wave 11, which is about, and that was, I just can't, I'm not sure. It's kind of endless. 14. You made it to 14. Well, yeah. Well, that's good work because I 11 and I'm struggling to get beyond that. But the devs, as you'd expect, it's made by 2 guys from Ireland, actually, that kind of collaborated on it. They're from Galway in Ireland. I think I've got that right. And one of them is Doomcube, who's a guy called Paul Conway, and he did the visuals for Dark Side Detective, if you're familiar with that. Completely different to Demon Pit. It's got a very different look, kind of I think it's point and click kind of adventure game that he did, which did pretty well. I think that was last year that came out, maybe possibly even the year before. But yeah, they've collaborated on this together, and they're much better than, well, Paul is anyway, much better than I am at it. So anyone that gets to, I don't know, wave 50 must be insanely good.
The achievements in that game are sadistic for someone like me. Like, I'm never going to get any of the achievements.
Yeah, well, it's fun trying, but yeah, I know what you're saying. It's like I say, I've been playing it for a long time, and wave 11 seems to be my my limit of where I'm gonna get.
And it's fast and it's smooth, which is what you need in first person shooters.
Yeah, exactly. It's got a real nice arcade feel to it as well. It's got that. It's quick, just like you say, it's fast, and you got to be on your toes with it as well. And because you've got the soul grapple, that lends an additional kind of mechanic to it that just kind of mixes things up a little bit, I suppose, for those sorts of games. So when you start using that, you start whipping around the arenas pretty quick, and that really mixes up the kind of shooter kind of formula a little bit.
Yeah, it's a really cool game. Cole, did you have any questions about it?
Well, no, because you kind of guys just took off, and anything I could have asked, you already knocked out.
Too thorough,
bitch.
Yeah, you guys are very good at this without me. While you guys cover the details, I'm just over here actually doing the game and being good at it.
Exactly. Yeah,
I'm throwing shade.
Oh, you. Well, let's move on. The next game is Demons with Shotguns. Give us the sales pitch on that one.
Okay, so Demons with Shotguns. We've had this one in development for a long time. I think because it may have been made in something that wasn't that compatible with whatever console games are. As you can tell, I have nothing to do with the porting process, the technical side of it. But now it's done and it's out. And this picture is the ultimate couch fragger Jib Fest. So it's kind of local co-op shooter, up to 4 players. There is a single player wave-based game as well, and it's pretty much as Demons with Shotguns, different characters with shotguns shooting each other. Or the wave-based one is like you can play together. So so there's that option as well. Again, it's kind of a fun party game along the lines of Towerfall or something like that, you know.
This is another one that's perfect for Cole because she has a family and built-in multiplayer. I haven't been able to teach my cats to use controllers yet, so I've been working on it.
But I only have one that's old enough to play Demons with Shotguns. The other ones, I mean, I have low standards. I could probably give the controller to number 3. It'd be fun.
Do you mean cats that are old enough, or do you mean kids that are old enough?
Both.
Both. Jimmy Kittens definitely isn't old enough. He's too young.
I'm sitting here like super concerned too because my cats are playing on the couch and they're very close to my Christmas tree.
Yeah, we've gone for a no Christmas tree this year because we knew it would be a problem. So we avoided the Christmas tree.
I'm more concerned about the big fat cat than the little one.
Why? Because he might eat the Christmas tree, or
no? Because he's just gonna like have a moment where he does a leap or something and hits the tree. It'll be entirely on accident. Like they haven't offered to bother it. It's just that I'm watching them like play around the curtains, and I'm like, oh, somebody's gonna fuck up and hit that
Cole,
tree.
I just admire the balls on you to actually have a Christmas tree with so many pets.
I know. Yeah, I've never had a problem. My sister, like, she has a little tiny Yorkie who's like a year old, and she went through all this hassle of like putting up a gate around her tree, and I'm like, man, I don't do any of that.
Yeah, whatever happens.
You happens for that, but
I've never. That can happen.
I've never so much as had a broken ornament. It's always been fun. But
yeah,
I am about to go. I'm gonna go interrupt them because I'm afraid they're gonna hit something on accident.
Yeah, last year we tried doing a tree, and then at that point we only had 8 cats.
Wow.
Which it's scary to say only had 8 cats compared to what we're at now. But yeah, we tried.
How many cats you got now?
Right now we're at 13. Yeah, we were happy with 8. We were good with 8, and then we found a stray who was just walking around this ice cream parlor parking lot, and we didn't want him to get hurt or get killed, so we went into the ice cream store and we're like, hey, there's this cat out here. It's really friendly, has a collar on. Do you know the owner? And they're like, yeah, it's this scumbag who lives down the street. He doesn't take care of his pets at all. You could probably just take the cat with you and he'll never notice. So we took the cat with us and he never noticed. So that's where Pickle came from. And then we've been taking care of a couple of outdoor cats, and one of them was pregnant, and she gave birth to her kittens. And we didn't want the kittens and the mama outside in the elements with raccoons around and eagles around. And we decided to bring all of them in. So there were 4 more. So now we have Pickle, we have Dale, and then we have the kittens are named Peanut Butter and Jelly.
Nice. It's a cat household.
Yeah, pretty much. They run the joint. So Cole, Demons with Shotguns. Tell us about your time.
So we went off a pet tangent there, didn't we? So yeah,
that happens on this show.
I didn't want to interrupt. So I was letting you guys get your story out. I did go separate the cats though.
So Demons with Shotguns. Like I say, it's a couch shooter, 2D. I think I said along the lines of kind of Towerfall, but with shotguns, obviously, that being the thing. There's also various like tarot card pickups, like power ups that you can get as well, that can either kind of benefit the player or kind of curse your opponents in some way, like give them some kind of bad power up. There's a whole bunch of different game modes. Capture the Soul, which is, you can kind of imagine what that is. Free for all. There's also team-based modes as well. Different arenas. I think there's 5 different arenas, and within those arenas they change as well. So I think in total it makes up to about, I think there's over 40 arenas, or
that's
40 different. Yeah, 40 different environments. So there's kind of like it's for like 4 different themed arenas, and then they kind of change as through different waves, and as the matches and stuff progress as well. Every player's got a shield, so there's like a deflection kind of mechanic in there as well. Some of the power-ups, you get things like Sands of Time, which is like a slows it down, just kind of like a bullet time. What else is in there? They're all kind of Power of Christ. What's that? What does that do? I think that's unlimited kind of grenades. They're not actually grenades. They're some kind of Holy Spirit that you throw and explode.
Holy hand grenade.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So it's quick, it's fast. It looks pretty simple at first, but there's actually a fair amount of depth to it. So you can kind of do shotgun jump in. There's because the shield's there, you've got the deflection aspect as well. So you've got to be pretty quick, on your toes as well. And because it's up to 4 players, it's just a lot of fun to sit and play together as well.
And just giblets go everywhere.
I think of all of the Digerati games I've played recently, Demons with Shotguns was my favorite.
Oh, cool. Well, that's really good to hear.
I love the fact that you could be an angel that smokes.
Yeah.
It's horrible.
Yeah, well,
at the same time.
Well, I had to take that off one of because we got some new artwork done for it, and I can't remember which of the I want to say Nintendo, because it's the sort of thing Nintendo would ask us to remove, but they were fine with the shotguns, but we had to remove the cigar from the Angels from the Angels artwork. So which I often find that it's fine to have the firearms, but smoking isn't allowed, which I find quite a strange thing.
Yeah, that's weird.
You can have all the demons and death and
exactly
gore.
Smoking a cigar.
The explodey bits are fine. Holy water can be a grenade. That's great.
All the demonic imagery and stuff is fine, but cigar is just a step too far. It's got the voice of the guy who does Honest Trailers as well. I don't know if you're familiar with that kind of channel that does the voiceover stuff trailers. Yeah, so John Bailey's does some voiceover stuff for it, and
thought I recognized that voice, but I couldn't put my finger on it.
Yeah, so he's from Honest Trailers, and the music is kind of VHS Glitch. He's does synthwave stuff. If you're into synthwave, that scene, then that name would probably mean something to you. So that's pretty cool as well.
That is awesome.
Yeah, it was a really fun game. I need friends desperately.
This is a problem I have, Joe. Yeah,
like I tried.
You just got to convince them to come visit you and your horde of cats.
Yeah. My allergic to cats friends need to come visit.
Wouldn't they just die upon entering your house straight away with so many cats? 13 cats
pretty much.
Overdose.
Yeah, pretty much. Moving on, Odallus the Dark Call. Tell us about that one.
Odallus the Dark Call. Yeah, so this is this came out on Switch a little while ago, and again we've been working on the Xbox and PlayStation ports for a while since then. And this is from Joy Masher, who are the Brazilian developer you probably know from Blazing Chrome, which came out this year and has done very well for itself. And Odallus is a kind of nod back to old school games. One look at it and you know exactly the kind of thing that you're in for. This one is kind of an exploration adventure game or action game. And you play, I love this guy's name, it's called Haggis. Which is the only character I think in games that's called Haggis. But yeah, you play Haggis and you have to go through the kind of kingdom and dispatch all the various demons and bad things that are there. But yeah, it's I mean, it's so true to the kind of the inspiration here. I mean, it's the everything from the 8-bit look, just the level of challenge, even down to the controls. It's also got, you can if you want, it's got the old CRT kind of filter option in there as well. If you want to play with lines across the screen, if you want to go full old school and nostalgia.
I always turn those off. I appreciate that they're there for the people who like them, but I want the crisp and clear visuals. Yeah,
we made a mistake of shipping the Switch one without an option to turn it off. So we learned pretty quickly that, we better, we need to...
Yeah, I remember Chris talking about that. He really enjoyed Odallus and Oniken, but he really wanted to be able to turn off the scan lines.
Yeah, so we could... we've done that. We patched that in as quickly as we could. That and there was something else as well. I can't quite remember now. Some option for the controls, I think, because they were a bit. I can't remember if they were a bit weird because they weren't quite the same as if you were playing on a NES controller. I can't quite recall now. But anyway, it's all fixed.
They are very weird still on the Xbox. I don't know if you guys have dabbled with the controls on the Xbox version, but the primary attack is on the Y button, which is the top button.
Yeah, I think there should be now, hopefully, I think, because the feedback from the Switch ones was the controls are weird and there was only one set control. So now there's there's a default and there's an alternative. There should be. I didn't check this morning when I was playing the Xbox One. But yeah.
I'm playing it right now and it's X.
X is the primary?
Yeah. Yeah. I'm hitting with X.
Oh, that's good because I think when
it's Odallus, right?
Yeah.
X was throwing the axes for me. So
I wonder if that updated.
Maybe. Like I say, I only fired it up for the first time on Xbox this morning, and Y was still sword, and X was the throw axes at stuff.
Yeah, Y just threw the axe on mine.
So you're playing it now, live?
I am playing. Yeah, no, I'm not playing it live, but I'm playing it while we're recording. Yeah,
cool.
And
she does that to keep herself busy.
I do, yeah, and that way it helps me visualize what we're talking about because I play a lot of, not to sound awful, but I play a lot and I kind of forget things in between. So when we're doing an interview, I'll flip through the games as we're talking about them. That way I have a fresh, visual in my head of what I'm talking about. No.
Yeah, that's a great idea. My memory is awful and trying to work and talk about all the different games that we're having, it can be quite a thing. So constantly having to remind myself of switching lanes between working on games is it's quite challenging, but yeah, so Odallus is if you, again, I think one of the games it's inspired by is Ghosts and Goblins, so that kind of gives you an idea. And Castlevania, of course, is another one of the main inspirations. So if you're into those kind of old school NES games, then this is Odallus and Oniken, which is probably the next one we're going to talk about if we're doing it in alphabetical order. Then I see Odallus has got a hard mode as well, which I can't even begin to imagine playing that, to be honest. But yeah, there are some people out there that will love that kind of thing. So that's there as well if you enjoy pain.
But yeah, tell us about Oniken as well, because that is also from Joy Masher. They worked on both of these games. Tell us about Oniken.
Yeah, so Oniken is, again, so from Joy Masher, again, another kind of homage to 8-bit NES games. In this one, this is whereas Odallus has kind of got a fantasy adventure sort of feel. This one's in a post-apocalyptic future. You play as a ninja, and again, you kind of action platformer, so similar a similar kind of progression as Odallus. Go through the levels and just overcome whatever challenges are thrown at you. And in Oniken, that's kind of bosses and a bunch of kind of navigational stuff as well, various traps and things like that. You've got sword play, but again, it's the gameplay itself is very true to those old school NES experiences. So Oniken and Odallus are definitely two that hopefully I imagine we'll be doing a bundle at some point in the future with those two. That would seem to make sense for me. But again, another good one from Joy Masher. I think those guys were up for the. I know they were. I think Blazing Chrome was up for some Brazilian Game Awards this year. So I don't know who won that actually. I need to check that out. But yeah, two really good games from a developer who kind of hits the mark repeatedly on providing those kind of nostalgic hits. Definitely.
Yeah, definitely get a Ninja Gaiden vibe from Oniken.
Yeah.
Uh-huh. Yeah, Ninja Gaiden wasn't anything I ever played. I must admit, it's not something I'm familiar with. But the ninja thing obviously is the thing. The thing with Oniken is I always look at the main character who's called Zaku. I always look at the main character and I always think it's has a kind of Chun-Li kind of look about him. But and for some reason I always think it looks slightly like it looks more like a female character. I don't know why. Maybe it's just I just get Chun-Li vibes off him. But I don't know why that is.
Oh, maybe it's cosplay. You never know.
Cyber ninja of the future cosplaying as Chun-Li.
Yeah, that works.
Yeah, could be. Yeah, he's wearing trousers kind of. Yeah, he does look like her, but there we go.
Now we're getting into what I lovingly refer to as the weird shit of the list.
Yes.
Straimium Immortaly. Did I say it right?
Yeah, I hope so, because that's how I've been saying it. Anyway, I didn't even know these were actual words, but they are actual words. I thought it was just, and it's like the amount of times I misspell Straimium as well.
Oh, honestly, God,
my partner, she does some work for Digerati as well, doing some of the kind of the store assets like the box art and things like that. And she's kind of she's dyslexic, so she has all sorts of fun with Straimium.
Oh no!
But yeah, so Straimium Immortaly is it's actually kind of it's a game from Casey Ware, who's the guy who did. He's an English guy, and he did another game that we've already published called Skelly Celeste, which is equally weird and outlandish and left field, and definitely it's probably an acquired taste. It reminds me very much of like an old school. It's got kind of reminds me of like a specky old cool Spectrum kind of. Did you used to have a Spectrum in the US, or was it called something else, or was it mostly a UK thing? You guys are more Commodore 64 over there, I suppose. Yeah,
I think so. That's a little bit before I was really into games. I first started with the NES and was pretty much only on the NES until the Super Nintendo, and then I started to dabble with Genesis and other systems, but I missed out on like the Commodore, the Spectrum. I missed out on a lot of stuff. Yeah,
well, I mean, at the time you missed out on it, but I don't think it's ever worth going back to have a look. Sometimes I'll think, I remember playing out the Commodore and fire up some emulator or something and then think, it's just not as good as I remember it being when I was, 8 years old or whatever. But anyway, Straimium it's like it's a roguelike shooter, dungeon crawler, very distinct visual style. You can kind of see Casey Ware's his very individual style that he puts into it. You can spot one of his games from a million miles away. He's got a new game out actually called something Abyss. What is it called now? I played it the other day and that was very good. Spirits Abyss. That's worth a look as well. But yeah, so this is it's a side-on 2D side-on. You float around this a procedurally generated arena and basically clear out the rooms of enemies. You can do them in any order you want. So you can go into a room, you don't have to finish it, you go out into the next room. Although some you need to complete the enemies and before it unlocks the next area. But yeah, there's a lot of exploration as well. There's a whole bunch of stuff going on it's very weird. It's one of those kind of roguelikes where there's a lot to discover in it. So it's definitely, I'd say it's definitely kind of an acquired taste for some people. It kind of has its own sort of language and lore and everything that I love. I find it amusing. I love how it's written, and I love the game style. But yeah, I know it's not for everyone. But it's definitely, if you enjoy roguelites, it's definitely a challenging one, and it's definitely puts a different spin on the genre because there's a whole bunch. It's really difficult. Roguelike shooters nowadays, especially kind of 2D ones. It's there's a lot out there, and to stand out is really quite an achievement in itself. And I think both Skelly Celeste and Straimium Immortaly, they both manage it definitely. There's a lot to discover, loads of exploring to do, loads of weird, freaky visuals.
It's such a bizarre, out there game. It is such a trip to play.
It is one of those roguelites, though, that make me remember that maybe I'm not as good at roguelites as I like to think I am.
It is tough. It is a really tough game, isn't it?
I like to fancy myself as this is my shit and I'm good at it. Mm-hmm. And then I play Straimium and I'm like, maybe I need to find new shit because this is hard.
Yeah, it's more challenging. I'd say it's more challenging than like Gungeon or maybe even Binding of Isaac or something. But yeah, it's certainly challenging. But yeah, if you stick with it, like most roguelites, if you stick with it, then you're kind of rewarded for your perseverance and being able to endure whatever it's thrown at you. So yeah, again, I know I'm really biased, but I'm not going to say otherwise. But I really like, big fan of Straimium Immortaly, just not the name.
Yeah. What would you have called it?
Oh my God, there's I probably would have gone for something lame like Into the Cubicus or something like that, because the Cubicus is the name of the arenas or the world that you're in. I think you're fighting the aim of the game. You're kind of going up against someone called Queenie Empress and all her nasties, I think, are the names of the enemies. Yeah, so yeah, my name's much lamer, Into the Cubicus, but yeah,
easier to spell.
Yeah,
exactly. Easier
probably
to spell.
Has better SEO.
Exactly. Yes, got to think about these things nowadays. So is Straimium a word? I thought it was Straimium. I'm just looking it up now. Meaning. Here we go. No, maybe not. No, maybe it's Immortaly that means something, because I didn't think either of those. No, that's not a word either. So it's just got immortality, but it's not immortality. It's so good. God knows. I have no idea. I should probably know these things. Being the mouth person to speak about them, but yeah, I'm not sure what. You're
gonna go after you end this show. You're gonna go fire off an email like, "What's that shit mean?"
Yeah, actually, what does this mean? Yeah.
You have me looking up Spirit's Abyss now. Is this something that Digerati's looking into bringing to consoles?
Not as far as I know. I mean, we brought both of his other games to console once Straimium's out. But yeah, I mean, I'm a fan of Spirit's Abyss. So who knows? I don't know. I don't think there's been any conversations about it. No.
Well, you should strike up a conversation because it looks badass.
Yeah, and again, you can kind of tell it's just from looking at the screenshots, and I like that in games. There aren't many. I guess there are a bit more in the kind of indie world that you can tell a game by the developer, but yeah, his has got a very distinct, very strong visual style, and just a very strong, weird, outlandish kind of, like you say, kind of psychedelic,
yeah,
bit too, yeah. Is that phone going off in my house or?
Yep.
Oh yeah.
Ding, ding,
sorry.
Ding, ding, ding.
It's not my phone, it's my partner's phone. It'll stop in a minute. There we go.
That's a nice ringtone. I like that.
It's jolly. Yeah, it's jolly. So no bad news could possibly be on the other end of the line.
Oh, man. Keeping the weirdness going, this might be the craziest game I've ever laid my eyes on. Tamashii. I'm not sure how that one is.
Yeah, Tamashii. Now this is
Tamashii.
Oh, yeah, this. I don't know. I don't know if I'm again. It's not. I don't know if I'm saying it right. No, and before I'd said because the Blazing Chrome devs were up for Brazilian Game of the Year award, so was this one. Tamashii was up against Blazing Chrome. So it's made by a Brazilian developer called Vikinta. Oh, excuse me, I'm getting a dry mouth. I must be talking too much. If I'm rambling, we had.
You're doing great.
Thank you.
Do you need a water? Are you good over there?
I've got water here. I'm all prepped. We had a little Digerati Christmas luncheon today, and I had the first coffee I've had for a while, so I may be a bit rocket fueled. Anyway, so yeah, I don't know. I'm not sure how to pronounce it, but it means something. I wasn't aware of this until I started kind of googling it. And Tamashii means, I think it means like meaning. In Japanese, it means something. Yeah. Meaning soul or spirit, but it seems to have some other meaning anyway. So yeah, this is weird. This is a very weird game. There's no escaping that fact. Weird is probably the weird, unsettling. Is kind of two good words. to describe it. It's a puzzle platformer. I've got a fair way into the Steam version. I played the Steam version when we were looking at it, and I really enjoyed it. It's got some really nice ideas in there, and kind of puzzle platforming level that I can just about cope with. I'm not the best puzzle platforming brain. Can you remember Braid from a few years ago?
Yeah.
Which had kind of slow down time puzzles and rewind time stuff, and that just blew my mind. I managed to get past a few levels and thought I was doing okay, and then hit the actual proper meat of the game, and it was just beyond me. But this seems a lot more achievable for someone of lower intelligence like myself. So in the dev's own words, this is inspired by obscure Japanese games from the 90s and late 80s, which I must admit I've not played a great deal. Obscure, not games I'd count as being that obscure Japanese games from the 80s and 90s. So I'll take his word for it. But yeah, it's kind of got a black and white is the main kind of palette. There is color in the game. You're summoned into a temple. You play this little dude masked, like a masked kid, I suppose. And you're summoned into a temple. There is a god or something in the temple, and this is my interpretation of it, by the way, as well. So, and there is an evil force or something within the temple that you have to investigate and find the source of, and that involves you. So going deeper into this odd, outlandish temple, being chased by disembodied heads, weird tongues, and other protuberances, and just eyeballs, just oddness, think of odd weirdness, and you kind of dark, unsettling, obscure
it's
weirdness.
Just fucking weird. That's the best way I could put it. It's fucking weird.
I was genuinely surprised when you said the developer was Brazilian, because my very first thought playing the game was, this is Asian horror.
Yeah, well, that's his. I mean, I think that's his kind of like inspiration, or it's an homage to stuff that's come out from kind of Asian horror and stuff.
Like, he nailed it.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, it's definitely got an atmosphere. It's got a really strong, sense of, I don't know, sense of strangeness about it. It's kind of a very otherworldly and unreal, and he's captured that really well in quite for what is a fairly simple looking game, and he's managed to create a really nice atmosphere with it. We've had really good feedback on this one as well, which is great. I think people like the weirdness. I think it's funny that I think a lot of people find it quite amusing that we're bringing this out at Christmas time, because it seems the least Christmassy game you could do. There's like weird pentagrams everywhere and weird demon shapes and all manner of weird perversion things going on inside this temple. So it's not the most,
holly jolly game out there.
Yeah, it's not going to go down as a Christmas, as a Christmas game, I don't think. One to play with the family.
I have one important question. If you were required to remove the cigar from the angel in Demons with Shotguns, what did Nintendo make you remove from the boss with the giant weenie dangling down?
The giant wing, is that the one with the pyramid head? Or another one?
No, it's the very first one you run into, I think. Or one of the second, maybe. Now, but he's like the big dude that drops the red balls down. And then they spike up the white sparks, and you've got to drop your clones into the pits. And the whole time he's floating in the air, and he's going back and forth, and he's got a big old weenie dangling by. And I was thoroughly amused, and I died a lot because I kept giggling at the penis.
I didn't notice that. I was too busy trying to kill him.
How did you not notice the giant wing?
I was too busy trying to drop my clones into the things to shoot him.
He has a demon weenie.
the demon dingly dangly.
Yeah.
Demon dingly dangly.
I think as long as it's age gated, as long as there's an appropriate thing, then the dingly dangly, they feel they've done their
job.
They've done their job, but we did have to change something with it wasn't the main art. Oh, it's some of the screenshots, because some of the screenshots that we submitted didn't go through because screenshots, I think this was with PlayStation as well, because on the PlayStation site, I don't think they're age gated, whereas on Nintendo's site, I believe pages are age gated. So you have to be
on Xbox, yeah.
Yeah, so and I think on PlayStation they're not. So we weren't. There some of the screenshots got subjected, and I think that was to do with. I think that was the other dude's dingly danglies. I think his were deemed inappropriate for screenshot usage. So we had to. We didn't censor the dingly dangly. We just removed. We removed that
You'll
screenshot.
find another screenshot.
Minus.
That way, the people that buy it get surprise penis.
Yeah, exactly. bonus dangly.
Merry Christmas. Here's the dingly dangly.
Yeah, I must admit I didn't notice on that first one either. I can't recall.
I'm pretty sure it's the one that drops the red balls. I can't remember if he's the first or second, but yeah, he does
anyway,
it.
So if you
I'm gonna link it in the Skype chat. Hopefully, it loads for you. Is that the one, Cole?
Oh, I just knocked stuff down on my desk. Let me see.
So proud of you.
I know.
Because
yes.
that might be the image for the episode.
I'm trying to work
how
out.
did you miss this big? Okay, so like that's got the scan lines and the distortion on. It's way clearer if you turn that stuff off.
Here we go. Oh, that dude, right? Yeah. Oh, yeah. I just think he looks a little bit like ET. That guy.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's got like an E. Oh, yeah. I see what you're saying now.
Yeah. When you turn the scan lines and stuff off, it's clear as day.
Yeah.
Like it's got the head and all.
Yeah.
It's funny.
So if you're into weird stuff and dingly danglies, then Tamashii is the game for you on Christmas Day. But maybe don't play it with Granny.
Play it with Granny, but don't play it with the kids around.
Exactly. Yeah.
Maybe Granny hasn't seen a dingly dangly in a while.
I'm sure. Yeah, exactly. Grannies have seen everything. Yeah, they've seen it all before.
Hey, Joe, you were going to call the show a Digerati Christmas, but it should be called Demon Dingly Danglies. Make it like a subtitle, like put a colon after, and then.
Oh my lord, Cole, you have problems.
I know. If there is a penis, I will spot it.
Speaking of dicks, the seventh game on the list is XenoRaptor. I had a blast with this one. Tell us more about XenoRaptor.
Yeah, I'm a big fan of XenoRaptor as well, as I am of all the games. I was doing a proper shield job. XenoRaptor, so this is like a top-down twin stick shooter, and you play. I love the description. You play like a cyber dragon, and you can like basically breathe nuclear lasers, and you're some reason the galaxy or the universe seems to be overrun with skull heads that are equipped with chainsaws, and they want nothing more than to attack your cyber dragon. So it's basically twin stick shooter. You're a cyber dragon, and you have to fight off an armada of skull-headed chainsaw enemies. And it's great. The further you go into it, you unlock a lot more kind of weapons that you can equip your cyber dragon with, and there's the variations, the variables of how you can equip your cyber dragon are pretty extensive. So you've got main weapon, secondary, and then there is a special weapon as well. Then there's the hull, boosters, engine stuff that you can tinker with, and of course you can change all the colors on your cyber dragon, so you can have neon pink eyes and nice neon green back, or whatever you want to give it.
The way it should be, the way God intended.
That's right.
Exactly. And you kind of progress through the various stages. So you start off, I believe, on Earth, in Earth's atmosphere, and then work your way through various stages. I think it goes from Mars to Phobos and then beyond. I haven't made it beyond the fourth area, I don't believe yet. But I've been playing this a ton on Switch. It actually works really nice in handheld mode, but I fired it up on the Xbox as well, and I've been having a load of fun on the Xbox version as well. The grind isn't too bad, so as you go through the game, I think every time you beat, after every fifth wave, there's a big boss appears. So this will be an even bigger skull head with chainsaws or multiple chainsaws or something awful. And when you defeat them, you unlock new stuff that you can equip the ship with, equip your dragon with. And I think each stage there's 10 waves, so there's an opportunity for unlocking lots of bits after the 5th wave and the 10th wave. It's a score based. There's a nice multiplier system as well, and I think it took me a little while to work out how the multiplier system works, but I think it's tied in, as far as I can tell. Joe or Cole, you might be able to correct me if you played it. As far as I can tell, it seems to be linked into the health system. So if your health is below a certain level, then your multiplier drops back to 1, and then it won't go. It won't begin multiplying again until you've got your health back up. That's as far as I can tell. Does that seem about right with how you guys experienced it? Or
I couldn't really tell what led to the multiplier. It seemed like I would have an 11 and then a 13, and then it'd be down to 5, and then it'd be back to 13. Like I couldn't make sense of what the multiplier was being affected by, but it might be health related, like you're saying.
I don't know, because I'm playing right now, and my health or my multiplier went down, but I didn't lose any health. So I don't know.
This is something
I'm a god. I'm not going to lose any health. I'm doing great. Get it out of here. I don't have that problem. I don't know what y'all are talking about.
But it's got like cooldown, so the cooldown stuff as well. So when you kill enemies, they drop either coolant, speed, or health pickups as well. So the coolant, so your weapons can overheat. So there's kind of like a management. You've got to kind of manage your weapons pretty well. Kind of switch between them, but you can kind of double up on the coolant. So I think, as far as I can tell, again, just from playing it and working it out, I think there's like 2 levels of like the heat gauge. So there's like, if you collect enough coolant, you've got a blue gauge, and then when it gets down into serious overheating territory, it's on a red gauge. And the health as well seems to overlayer, as far as I can tell. So it overlays. It looks almost like your health bar. It has a faint green, and then it starts colouring in that green even more as well. So, but yeah, I really enjoy it. It's kind of something that Peter Cleary is a guy. So he's the developer. He's based in Australia, and I think Geometry Wars is one of the inspirations for this, which I can see. I'm a big fan of Geometry Wars. That's still something I'll fire up every now and again, just for a blast. Yeah, and I'm a sucker for kind of these kind of twin stick shooters. I could just, and like I said, I enjoy the grind of this one as well. It's fairly it's nice and rewarding, so you don't have to wait too long to get some new cool stuff to equip your dragon with, and it's nice fiddling around with all the different options. And I always use I don't know what weapons you chose to fit your cyber dragon with, but I went for plasma. I quite like the plasma because that will stop enemies in their tracks, so they kind of fries their circuit, so they're kind of like temporarily immobilized, and then you can launch. I use that in conjunction with like kind of bomb missiles, I believe, that then you fire them and they blow up all the any enemies that are just being fried by the plasma attack upon them. So yeah, it's a nice one. You can play around with it, have a lot of fun, and yeah, like I say, I've been playing it a ton. I've been playing it loads. To be honest, out of all the kind of the Christmas ones we've got coming out, then XenoRaptor is the one I've probably put the most hours into in my spare time, definitely.
Yeah, I think XenoRaptor is among my favorite of the Digerati 7, I've been calling them.
Nice.
I think the great thing about it. Go ahead.
I was going to say, I love the fact that the enemy ships can run into each other and destroy each other. You could just sit back and watch them collide, and they'll just fly into each other, explode, and you could go pick up the health drops and coolant drops. I love mayhem like that. Yeah,
and there's levels that have asteroids, and they can fly into those. You can fly into them as well, or you can use them as asteroids as a shield, because enemy, especially against the big enemies, you can just hide behind the asteroids and kind of sneak out, kind of behind cover sort of style. And there's levels where there's barrels. Brilliant. Everyone loves an exploding barrel, and there's plenty of exploding barrels in space. So yeah, there's a whole lot to go on. The further you get into it, there's more to contend with than just skulls with chainsaws attached to them, as if that wasn't enough.
I think one of the best things about excuse me, about XenoRaptor is that it's a game you can play mindlessly. Like, it's difficult and it's rewarding if you grind it out, but you can also just kind of sit back and kick your feet up and just let whatever happens.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, and I'm a big fan of games like that, especially as I get older and my time is a bit more limited, and I just love being able to fire something up and just sink 10 minutes into it or an hour or whatever. Then yeah, it's easy to do that. And like you say, you're not having to worry about often fire up a game, and if there's too much to think about, or to remember of where you left off, the amount of games I've had to give up on because it's like, oh man, it's been so long since I've played this. I've no idea what I'm doing, where I'm going to be going. But something like XenoRaptor, you can just fire it up and you know exactly what you're doing. Shoot the skulls, dodge the asteroids.
Shoot shit, make it blow up.
That's it, pretty much, yeah.
Big boom, everybody happy.
yeah, fancy up your cyber dragon and then you're away.
Yeah, so 7 games all coming out together. What led to this massive load of games releasing at once? Did you guys decide, hey, let's save up a couple of titles and just make a big holiday gift? And
I think so. I mean, we had it's Christmas, isn't it? It's the gift of it's the gift of giving. Because we've also got a bundle coming out as well, which is the Indie Darling bundle, Volume 4. We're up to Volume 4 on that now, and that is insane value for money. I'm just looking at the PlayStation. It come out on PlayStation today. It's like it's about €13, and that has got Glass Masquerade, which is like a puzzle game, basically the kind of like jigsaw game, but it's really nice.
I really like that one.
Yeah.
Yeah, I like that one as well. Yeah, I really enjoyed Glass Masquerade. Loved it. Black Paradox, which is the kind of roguelike side-on shooter, neon space, kind of flying like a DeLorean in space and shooting at bad dudes. Again, lots of fun. Unexplored, which was the roguelike with the cyclic dungeon generation, had a fancy dungeon generation system behind it. Was graphics were very kind of simple looking, but the actual gameplay itself, whole lot of depth to that. That's on there as well, and also Verlet Swing, which is the kind of what do you call it? I'm just trying to think of the art style. The kind of like 80s original, that MTV kind of look. What's it called? Vaporwave.
Yeah.
So like Vaporwave again, very neon, kind of like a Spider-Man swinging game, but again, it's on that level of weird. But that's very more as well. So that's like 4 games for and not a lot of cash. I don't know. I really like all 4 games in that bundle, and they all are really different from each other as well. So a lot of variety on there.
Yeah, I'm looking on the PlayStation Store now. The normal price is $50 for the bundle, but it's on sale for $9.99.
Yeah,
which is insane.
Yeah, that's
4 games for $10.
Merry Christmas.
Yeah, and they're all really good games as well. So I imagine the price will be the same when it hits Xbox as well. So I'd highly recommend that. So they're all really good games. That's the whole point of the Indie Darling bundle. It's they're good value and variety of games that you're sure to appeal to. Someone, if you've got a couple different people playing on the console. Although saying that, I like all the games that are on the bundles. So, yeah.
So we covered what Digerati has out now. What's Digerati working on for 2020?
So 2020, we have a few bits and pieces. I don't think they're officially announced, so I probably shouldn't talk about any of it just yet. I don't think. Have we announced anything?
The gold robots.
The gold robots. What's that?
There's gold robots. We always joke with people, usually who are working with Microsoft, but there's a running joke since Steven Spawn was on the show that gold robots are sent to like kill you if you say anything out of embargo.
If you stray from the
from the NDA,
from the PR message,
Yeah, so I don't think there's anything that we have announced that I'll be able to talk about. I mean, I could talk about, so we have a stable label, if you want to call it that, which is Big Sugar. So this year we kind of did Big Sugar label, and which is what we released Valfaris under. So Valfaris was the follow-up to Slain Back from Hell. So next year on Big Sugar we have 2 games which are Is that cool to talk about them even though they're not Digerati? Shall I just...
Oh, yeah. I kind of figured you're the same parent group. I was actually going to ask what the difference is between Digerati and Big Sugar, because I know they're together.
So the kind of the most simple way to explain the difference between the two is that most of the Digerati stuff is existing games that we bring to console, whereas Big Sugar focuses on brand new IP. So Val Forest was brand new. We've also got Unto the End coming out, and we've also got Unexplored 2. So Unexplored 2 is the follow-up to Unexplored, which is the game I was just talking about that's in the Indie Darling bundle, volume 4. And that is from Ludomotion, really talented developers who are based in Amsterdam. Unexplored 2 is going to be another roguelike. It's also got this special kind of level world generation that they've built themselves. So it's kind of like a bespoke system that they've got this time. So it kind of continues the story from Unexplored. In Unexplored, you had to go down, I think it was 10 floors in a dungeon, rescue this magic item, and then escape from the dungeon as well. And this one is kind of the adventure beyond the dungeon. So it takes you into the outside world. And the world is called Unexplored 2, The Wayfarer's Legacy. And like I say, it's a roguelike action RPG. And it looks visually, it looks absolutely stunning. Again, I'm biased, but the guy they've got, Hendrik, who's doing the artwork, super talented guy. So this was revealed at the PC Gaming Show at E3 this year, and we had loads of good feedback on it. I think everyone was in agreement that the visual style is amazing.
It looks gorgeous. I'm looking it up on Steam now. It is beautiful.
Yeah, so it's got a really nice style, really eye-catching. It's actually available to play already on Fig, which is kind of like a crowdfunding platform. So it's called Open Access, but for all purposes, it's basically like Steam Early Access. So you can go on there and you can play like a very early version of it, and that's coming along really nicely. They keep adding new features all the time, and yeah, I'm really excited about this one. I've got, like I say, the developers are super talented. Just the way the adventure will be generated. The thing with procedural generation that some people don't like is that it can feel a little bit maybe lacking in character, or but that just isn't the case here. The story is kind of generated as well, so players will. What I love about games like this is that everyone can go through the game and have a completely different experience and completely different tales to tell. To chat with their friends about, and that's kind of what this is going to be like. So it's going to be very much a story-based game, very much exploration, as the name suggests. It's shaping up to be something really special. But like I say, if you want to see how it's progressing, or you want to get involved with the development, then in terms of providing feedback, then it's available now on Fig. So just go to Fig and search for Unexplored 2, and you'll find it on there. And the developers are really keen on looking for feedback, just to help kind of shape the game, and just it's that kind of game that really benefits from having some kind of open stroke early access aspect to it. Yeah.
Does that one have a release window yet?
Just 2020 at the moment, which same for Unto the End as well. They are just 2020 because we want to avoid kind of putting dates on stuff and then
missing them and stuff like that.
Yeah, exactly. And then just having to manage people saying, well, where is it, and all the rest of it. But
it's ready when it's ready. Shut up.
Yeah, exactly.
It's ready when we have 6 other games to release it with.
So that's one of the games we've got coming out next year onto the Big Sugar label. The other one is Unto the End. Again, this is shaping up to be something really special. It's a 2D, calling it a handcrafted combat adventure. So the way that it's been made by Stephen and Sarah, who are a husband and wife team. They're based in San Francisco, in California. And this it tells the story of a father. So he's not really there's nothing particularly remarkable about him, or he's not a warrior or anything like that. He's just like this humble guy, and he finds himself in this situation, and he has to make his way home back to his family, who is his partner and the daughter as well. So it's kind of it's about surviving that journey. So he's kind of alone. He's kind of outmatched. All the enemies that you meet there are no cheap enemies in the game. It's going to be a challenging game. The combat is something very special, and the combat draws one of the inspirations for the combat, because it's very about kind of read and react combat. It was in one of the inspirations for it, or was the feeling that Stephen got when he used to play Punch-Out as a kid, and that the way the character in Punch-Out had all his moves right from the get-go, and it was just all about the player mastering those moves, and that's what you're getting onto the end. So there won't be any leveling up or learning new moves or anything like that. You've got all the skill, the player will have those moves from the start of the game and all the way through to the end. So it's just about mastering the sword combat, the movement as well, how you can use the environment to your advantage, how you can use so things like friendly fire. Friendly fire makes it sound a little bit like it's got guns, but so if an enemy throws a spear, you can roll under that and it will kill another enemy. And the fights are really they are the standout moments in this game that are going to be memorable, and people, they're not just going to be cheap moments. These aren't just going to be your average another fight in a video game. You've got to think how to outsmart the creatures that you come across. Some of the creatures that you'll actually be able to think of other ways of getting past them that aren't necessarily fighting based, so you could maybe make friends, befriend them as well. So it's shaping up. Again, it looks beautiful. I love every time they send a new build. I love playing. I love playing the new builds that they send through. It's a real treat, always a real highlight. And yeah, we took this one to EGX, which is a kind of games convention in the UK, and the feedback from there was really good. It had a couple of best games of the show, kind of shout-outs, favourite games from the show, shout-outs from Rock, Paper, Shotgun and Eurogamer. So that one is shaping up to be something really special. And even better for Xbox gamers, it's going to be Game Pass day one as well. So
nice. So
there's that bonus as well. So yeah,
wow.
This is, like I say, it's coming together really nicely. And yeah, hoping it's going to be something special as well, like a nice 2D adventure where the focus is very on combat, very on player skill as well. So there's no hand holding, still kind of playing around with how much kind of any of that there's going to be. But yeah, it's going to be a challenging adventure, and it's going to be about mastering the skills that are at the player's disposal. But yeah, so exciting for next year. That's Big Sugar stuff as well. So and Digerati stuff. Don't think there's anything that we've announced that I can talk about that we have announced. So I can't really talk about any of those without having slap wristies.
That sounds a lot nicer than murder robots, though.
Yeah, murder robots suck.
Yeah, I don't want them to be just deployed.
Question about Unexplored 2. Are there console plans for that one, or is that PC only?
There are. I mean, yeah, it would be mad not to have console plans. There are console plans. We just don't know what those consoles are going to be at the moment, which is why we are just saying PC and console at this stage. So we don't know what the consoles are going to be. So yeah, so at the moment we're just saying PC and console. But yes, it will find its way to console.
I'll keep my fingers crossed for more Xbox love.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, we'll just see how it goes. There's just nothing confirmed, nothing locked down. So again, we're just playing it safe and just announcing it for PC, just to avoid any disappointment down the line when it doesn't come out for something and it comes out for something else. And so yeah, we're just waiting to see with that one before we getting details locked down, before we announce anything officially. But yeah, I'm excited for Unexplored 2 and excited for Unto the End as well. So.
Are you guys excited about the recently revealed Xbox Series X? Do you guys have your eyes on the future yet?
Always excited for any new console developments. It's kind of funny because the kind of games that we do. I mean, maybe Unexplored 2 is an exception because of the kind of the processing that is required to do the kind of level of content generation that it's doing. But most of the games that we've got are kind of comfortable on the, they're not. I don't know. I'll be interested to see what the sort of games are that we publish, kind of that 2D, the indie style game, kind of see where they are elevated to with what power the new consoles bring. So I've seen them. I mean, it's exciting to know there's things coming. I mean, it's, it's inevitable. They're always working on new stuff. But it'd be interesting to see what the new console generation brings. Because I'll be happy with my PS4, Xbox One and Switch for, I don't know. I'm happy with them. I don't feel like I don't need a new console at the moment for the kind of.
You're always happy until the new one comes out, though, and then you're like, oh, but I could.
Yeah, I mean, I was playing Control the other day, and I mean that seemed to be suffering on the PS4, and that seemed to be suffering from some serious slowdown with all the. Seemed to be a lot of some areas where there was a lot going on, a lot of effects happening, and that seemed to be slowing down. So I can imagine the no loading thing is pretty cool as well. So yeah, it'd be a brighter thing. But I'm less about needing bigger, shinier, fancier games. I do think a lot of the new ideas and the really kind of creative ideas and the ideas that are really pushing into something new, kind of new territory that games haven't seen before, that they're normally, I find, born from the kind of indie scene. So that's kind of where my focus is. I find the AAA stuff kind of follows along after that, and they're just because of the nature of the industry, they have to be a lot safer and they're a lot more risk averse. So you often find the real risk in the indie scene. So it's a nice place to be, and I'm happy to be focused on that. We're focused on that kind of stuff. It's really nice seeing what indie developers come up with next, and because it's getting harder and harder to stand out from a crowd. So so it's good. It's good to see how indie developers approach that, and and really address. It's something I have to really think about. Like, what is the game I'm going to make going to interest anyone? And I think that's something. Whereas I think with AAA games, they maybe don't have to think as hard as that.
Makes sense. As Cole continues to die over there.
I'm sorry. I keep trying to mute every time, but sometimes it sneaks up on me.
Oh, man. Well, I know we've been chatting for a good while. Cole, did you have any other questions you wanted to ask?
No, I'm good. I just want to tell you, Joe, that I beat your score on XenoRaptor on Earth. So nice. Get fucked.
What are you guys? I'm my Xbox tag is sized caribou something or other. I can't remember. It's just the one I got designated. Can you even change that, or do you?
You can.
Yeah,
you changed it the first time for free.
Right. Okay. Well, I know what I'm Cal 102 on everything else, but on the Xbox, I'm sized caribou and some numbers. It was just whatever the random, the random name generator came up with, and I kind of quite like sized caribou. But what are you guys?
I am Joe Camnet on pretty much everything.
Oh, that's pretty easy to find. Yeah, and you, Cole?
Eternal Rage. It's got a space in the middle and an H in Rage. So I'll put it in the chat and you can see it.
I think I saw you on the XenoRaptor leaderboard. Yeah. So, okay. Oh, that's nice to know. Maybe I'll friend you up as well so we can go on the friends. I think there's a friends leaderboard, is there? I can't remember.
Maybe.
I think so. I'm pretty sure there's a leaderboard and a friends one, a global and a friends. But yeah, I think I saw. Yeah, I'll be keeping an eye on those scores then.
Be watching us, making sure that we're still playing it. Like, hey, it's June. Why aren't you guys playing XenoRaptor anymore?
Yeah.
Well, Matt, was there anything else you wanted to talk about before we let you go?
Oh man, I don't think so. I'm used to like kind of working at home with and not saying that much to anyone, so I've just kind of splurged for however long we've been chatting. So I feel like I've been talking a lot. So apologies if it's, I've bent anyone's ear off or.
Oh no, that's what we love on the show. We love guests who have a lot to say because it means less work for us.
Exactly.
And we're lazy.
Especially when I'm dying.
Are you guys doing a Game of the Year thing? Are you doing any kind of roundup, or have you done that?
We're doing a year-end PartyCast next week on Monday, which the episode is going to release on Christmas. So that's our Christmas present to the world.
Nice. Okay. I was going to ask what your games
like
of the year.
Four listeners.
I was going to ask what your games of the year have been, but I don't want to. If you're going to keep that for your special podcast,
I don't really have a game of the year. I don't. I play too much stuff that it's hard to remember everything that I have played. I will say, a recent game that I've really, really enjoyed has been Super Epic.
Oh, okay, yeah. I'm not familiar with that, actually. I'll look that up.
It's a Metroidvania. I believe it's out on everything right now. Okay. It's about a raccoon riding a llama or an alpaca who is trying to take over a video game corporation run by pigs.
Oh, I have seen this, yeah.
It's such a fantastic game. That's one of the few games this year that I actually sat down and beat beginning to end.
Oh, yeah, that looks great. It looks really nice. It looks like it's got a really nice art style to it as well.
And it's funny. It's legitimately funny.
Okay, I will. Oh, nice. I'll definitely check that out. Yeah, that's good.
See, my problem is I can't pick a single game of the year. I was actually just talking about this to Studio last night while we were playing. And I was like, first off, I played so fucking much. I don't remember what I've played. And the ones that have stood out to me, like, is Cardpocalypse and Slay the Spire.
Oh, yeah.
And they're so similar that I can't really choose between them.
Is Cardpocalypse a kind of card game one, is it?
It is, yeah.
I've not heard of that. I love it. Sorry, go on.
It just came out on the 5th. 12th, I'm sorry. 12th. The embargo was for the 5th. But it came out on the 12th. The thing is, like, I've had some glitchiness with it. Mm-hmm. That might be an understatement. And I'm waiting on a patch. I broke the game. Look, if your game can be broken, I will be the one to do it. And I fuck up Cardpocalypse.
Oh, Cardpocalypse, right. Sorry, I was typing in Cardpocalypse and all I'm getting is Carmageddon.
Carmageddon.
Yeah, which I imagine
it does things to words. And being sick isn't helping. But yeah, it's a card game, very similar play style to Slay the Spire. But you play as a 10-year-old girl in a wheelchair.
Oh wow, okay. So it's a slightly different kind of heroes you normally have.
Yeah, exactly. And so like you go through the days and you have the card battles with your friends at school, and then the game you play is called Power Pets. And so like there's 4 different builds you can build out your decks, and they all have different abilities and hitches to them, and they're
nice.
Very cool.
Yeah, I'm just watching the trailer now. It looks it does look good. That's another one. I'll put that on my list. Man, there's just so many games out there. It's crazy.
There are. That's why it's so hard to pick any kind of game of the year. Like, to me, game of the year is always going to be Rock Band 4 because it's the thing I play the most every year.
Right, okay. That's your go-to game.
Yeah, that's my go-to.
Right.
Gears was really good. Control was really good. Sekiro's winning a lot of awards, but I never sat down to play that one yet.
Uh-huh.
Wait, Gears was this year? Why was I thinking Gears was last year?
I don't know, because you're drunk.
I wish I were drunk. I'm not allowed to drink.
What about you, Matt? What's your game of the year?
Matt, well, I haven't asked the question. I'm the same. I'm not very good at picking one out because there's so many good ones that I enjoy for very different reasons. But I guess ones that stood out, I really enjoyed Katana Zero this year from Devolver. And I also really enjoyed A Short Hike, which at the moment I think is just on Steam. And it's kind of it's just a really lovely little game that is a nice break from the, a nice getaway from the misery of life sometimes. It's kind of like it's got a very Nintendo thing about it. It feels very Nintendo-y. It almost feels like a cross between Animal Crossing and a bit Zelda, really, as well. You kind of play this, I think do you play a cat or something? I can't even remember what you play, but you just wander around this lovely outdoor wilderness, and you have to make your way up the top of a mountain, and you meet various people along the way, and you do little they're not even quests really. You can do them if you want. You don't have to. But yeah, it's just very lovely, very kind of very nice, relaxing chilled game. So I'd say Katana Zero's kind of more actiony, but still a 2D kind of action game where you get to do some really nice choreographed fight sequences, and then a short hike. I think they're probably the two, and of course Valfaris. Contractually obliged to say that one. But it is a great game, and it's really good to see it has been popping up on some people's Game of the Year list, which is really nice to see, and it's in like the top 15 games released on PC this year according to Metacritic. So
that's awesome.
Yeah, so it feels, I don't feel like I'm I'm being too biased by saying Valfaris is in my Game of the Year list. So
nice. Well, I guess that's it. That kind of wraps everything up. Matt, thank you so much for being here. It's been awesome chatting with you again. You'll have to come back on again sometime next year when Digerati is ready to talk about the next deluge of games that they're about to release.
Sure, anytime. This time of year is a really good time to do it as well, because we are kind of winding down, and we've done most of the legwork on anything, so I've got a lot more time to do this kind of thing, because I would like to do it more often, but it's tricky to find the time when we've just got so many plates that are spinning at once. But it's been great to have me on. Thanks for having me on, Joe. Really nice to meet you, Cole, as well.
It was a pleasure.
Yeah.
Everyone else, stick around. We're going to take a quick break. We have the PartyCast coming up with some reviews that we got to take care of. I'm sure Cole's going to repeat a lot of what she said with Cardpocalypse.
Yep.
Obviously, it's not like we recorded that already or anything.
Nope. I really love to talk about Cardpocalypse, though, now that the embargo's over. So I
can tell that review was a long one. Or it will be a long one.
Such a good game. So fucking broken, but so good. Spoiler alert.
Barring any surprises, Matt, you're our final guest for the year. So do you have any final words to send us home?
To anyone who's bought any of the Digerati games this year or picked up Valfaris on Big Sugar, just thanks for the support. We really appreciate it. And just everyone have a happy and healthy holiday and New Year.
Welcome back, everyone. Thanks for sticking around, and other thanks to Matt at Digerati for coming on and chatting with us. That was fun, wasn't it?
It was. Good time.
Sure was. I loved it. I had a great time, man.
No, you weren't there.
It was I was in the background eating soda, because you can eat that now when you freeze it first.
I thought you were going to say eating Tide Pods, and I was like, boy, that's on brand.
Yeah, that fits our show, eating Tide Pods.
How are you not dead? Good story, actually. So it turns out I'm immune to them.
I built up an immunity over the years.
I just practiced. I ate them. The hell was the substance in The Princess Bride that he built up an immunity to?
Iocane poison.
Iocane. Yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
Built up an immunity. Just.
Uh-huh.
Oh my Lord.
Iocane. He's a great guy.
Swizzlers. Oh, the show didn't start yet? No, not yet. We're just starting it now for the most part, pretty much. But we got to give a quick shout out to Swizzlers, because he not only subbed, but he dropped 100 biddies.
Oh!
And you know what that means? I gotta get my shit together and play a sound clip.
He's also named after a variant of one of my favorite hated candies.
Favorite what candies?
Favorite hated candies, because I like Twizzlers now, but everyone still hates Twizzlers. I don't know why. They're tasty.
I love Twizzlers.
They're like the only Twizzlers I can stand. Yeah.
Twizzlers. People tend to like Twizzlers. They hate black licorice.
Yeah, black licorice sucks.
I had an argument because there's the talk about plastic ban on straws and and of course there's the people that are like, you don't tell me I can't use a straw, blah blah blah. And then my response is typically, yeah, but why aren't you just using Twizzlers? I mean, the solution is clearly edible straws. Like, you finish drinking, then you eat the remains. No evidence left behind. And I had a picture of myself drinking from a Twizzler because that's what I've used for straws for years. And people were like, ew, Twizzlers, those things are nasty. I'm like, wait, you daft? Twizzlers are the shit. And they're straws. Like, you can't beat it.
I guess they are tastier than most straws.
Yeah, than most straws. Yeah, I mean, there's those bendy straws, the ones with the chocolate in it, the chocolate center. Oh, those are delicious.
Hey, he cheered another 100 biddies because we're talking about him.
Drop it!
Now, the real Mavericks are the people who prefer red vines to Twizzlers.
They're crazy.
I'll eat those too. I don't care.
Yeah, I don't think I have a preference. I just eat them.
I'm poor. I eat whatever one you want to stick in my face. I'm like, give it.
Not too long ago, I had like a giant tub of like red vines that I got on discount at the grocery store. There was no moment of me thinking, these would be better if they were Twizzlers. All I thought was, and that was fine. I was content with the consumption. I wasn't going to sit there and question branding. And honestly, I'm not sure if they even they taste different. I won't deny that they do taste different, but I don't even think they taste different enough to have much of a preference. It's just like, give me some. Do they have enough?
Just got to be brand elitists.
That's right. I also, of course, the ultimate rivalry for branding is Pepsi or Coke, which, one has cocaine in it or used to, and that's enough for me. That's all that matters there. I mean, I'll give it to Coke because of the cocaine. Who had enough balls to put cocaine in their drink?
But Pepsi has iocane.
Iocane ain't cocaine, baby.
That was built up an immunity to it.
Oh, touche. That is true.
But you guys are talking about soda and Twizzlers, and I'm just playing with a kitten.
Yeah, I see the kitten. It's adorable.
It's jelly.
I mean, I'm sure there's a branding war for cats too. I mean, you got calicos and you got whatever other
ragdolls.
Yeah,
Himalayan, Siamese.
Yeah, Siamese. See, I'm Team Siamese, and I ain't going nowhere else but Team Siamese. I guess tabbies are sweet and adorable too, but all of them will fuck you up, and that's what's the rough part to understand. Like, you can have your brand preference to cats, but at the end of the day, they will all fuck your shit up. Because that's what cats do.
But cats are best cats.
Yeah, like, I used to hate cats, too. Hated them. Hated them. And while I do still stand by the reasoning why I used to hate them.
What's the reasoning?
I used to feel like when I compared them to dogs, I was always like, well, dogs are like your friend. And they never want to let you go. And they're always hanging around. Whereas cats are just kind of like, this is my house. I'm living here. And I really couldn't give two shits about you or anybody else. And then I got actually prolonged exposure to cats because I actually had friends who owned them, and I was over at their house playing with them a lot. And I came to realize that while part of what I said was totally true, in which case cats are just kind of roommates. They do what they want. They also have the element of a roommate where every once in a while they do want to hang out with you. Like, what you doing? What you watching? I'm like, I'm just, watching Alf. Alf? What the hell are you watching Alf for, man? Mighty Mouse is on. I'm hungry. Put it on. I'm like, I don't know. And then all of a sudden, I'm having a conversation with a cat that shouldn't be able to talk, but you know how that goes. Sometimes you just want to feel like you can hear it. And
you were really high.
High.
I think I stepped away from the podcast accidentally for a minute.
I was high on cat life, baby.
Came back to a whole different podcast.
This is now the Kitty Cat podcast.
Cat cast.
This has been the Kitty Cat podcast.
Podcats.
SML cat cast. But but at the end of the day, now I'm like, if I had to choose between a cat and a dog, I kind of feel like I switched to cats over dogs. Not to say I don't like that. I like one more than the other in the sense of like just that I love dogs, but not having to walk a cat, especially in the damn winter, that's a blessing. That's a fantastic feeling. Not to go out in 10-degree weather where the dog doesn't want to go You're like, yo, man, I don't want to be out here either. Poop your shit. I gotta go. It's cold out here. Dog's like, no, but I ain't pooping inside either. I ain't pooping out here. We gotta poop somewhere. Shoot. I'm not laying out paper. I ain't laying out paper. But yeah, at the end of the day, that's where I find myself at. What about you guys? Are you cats or dogs?
I think the answer for me is pretty obvious.
Oh, hamsters for you. You're a hamster guy.
I honestly don't have a preference. I like them both pretty equally. I see the pros and cons in both of them. I have a lot of both of them.
Really?
Yeah.
How many are we talking?
Huh?
How many are we talking here?
I have 4 dogs and 3 cats. And 2 rabbits.
Oh, you're a rabbit
and
person.
a partridge.
I am a rabbit person. I had a Flemish giant rabbit up until last year, and she was incredible. You could just basically they're cats that hop, pretty much. It's hilarious.
You say a cat that honks? Like
Hops.
a goat? Oh.
I did have goats once too.
Did they honk?
No. Although one time I came home from the grocery store and the ram or the buck was in my house. He had got the door open and had closed it behind him by headbutting it. And he had locked himself.
Like, you're out of beer.
No, he was just laying on the couch when we come in, but he'd like pulled down the curtains and everything and made a mess. But
oh Lord,
yes,
I was like,
better than what I was joking
Christ, that's not the way you want to come home from the grocery store to find that your goat has gotten into your house. And then my second thought was, holy fuck, I hope he didn't stand on the Xbox.
Yeah, that would be scary. I'll admit that. But
so when I saw the curtain was down, I immediately turned around to make sure that my TV and my Xbox were okay. I didn't care about anything else in the house.
Those are important and expensive.
Like if I came home and opened the door and there was a goat in my kitchen, I would be very confused, but also kind of intrigued by where.
I love that. Goats are basically dogs with hooves. They're fantastic.
And they eat cans.
No, they actually don't. Goats are
come
super
on,
picky.
don't take this from me.
I'm sorry, but goats are horribly picky. I carried cranberries and raisins in my pockets for my female goat. And my husband would get so mad because she'd do whatever I wanted because I always had a snack in my pocket, and she wouldn't do shit for David. Like David sit there and tug and pull and grab and have hold of her collar and just beg her, and she'd be just standing there chewing away. Did not give a fuck.
Did he ever think to bring out 10 cans?
No, because they would need a tin can.
Why is TV a liar? It should not lie to me.
I don't know.
They were always so awesome.
They do eat a lot of, like, if you eat it, they'll eat it. They don't give a fuck.
What you're saying is if I eat
you don't eat a can, they're not going to eat a can. Chickens are the same way. Anything you put out, they'll eat.
So I got to eat
another
a can.
Chicken, don't give a fuck. That's gone.
Done. That's what I'm doing. Give me a tin can and a goat.
Are you going to eat the tin? So you might eat that tin can and that goat's going to sit there and look at you and just walk away.
Or he might help me, get back my childhood love of the thought of goats eating cans by eating a can as the paramedics show up to rush me to the emergency room. But the important part is Goat Coon is eating cans, and that's great. That's why I said Goat Coon for some weird reason. I was thinking. Just
none of this show makes any sense. None of it.
Doesn't ever.
We should go back to the interview. Could we just do that some more?
No. We're probably
going to go back to the interview. We're just going to
probably deviated somehow in the interview too, I'm sure.
Probably.
Just infect the interview. It's just going to be a bunch of like weird lines that don't make sense. Like they didn't say that before. What the hell is going on? And then the interview is going to be like, the guy's going to be like, so then I ate this cantaloupe, right? The cantaloupe gave me this idea for a game. And I said, fuck it. Why not? Let's just make this thing. And that's why Puppy Dog Adventures came about. And it was a great time.
Oh, good
Around these parts, we don't call it cantaloupe. We call it mushmelon.
Mushmelon?
What?
Yeah.
Like mushmouth, but the melon?
Yeah.
Okay.
Mushmelon. And we eat it with salt.
And I holler. What? With salt. With salt.
Watermelon we eat with salt too.
So you're telling me
salt?
What the big cans, but drink mushmelon with salt.
How does salt make it taste sweeter?
Because it exacerbates the taste that's already there, and it sweetens it.
Chemistry. It's all chemistry.
It is. It's true.
Okay, I guess.
Honestly, I'm not even going to
demand that you try it. I demand everybody that is listening or has ever listened or thinks they might consider pushing the play button once.
So you're talking about like 12 people.
And regretted it? Yeah. Try watermelon or mushmelon with salt.
There you go.
Honeydew too.
Someone might eat mushmelon. There you go. There's a new name of your show. Someone might eat mushmelon, and it might be cold.
It's delicious.
With salt. With salt.
It's literally like one of the only foods that I'll eat salted.
I will say one thing though about that logic, and then maybe I'll stop running on tangents. Is that
No, you won't.
No.
That is true. I'm lying up my ass. The idea of how cooking really is just like one massive chemistry class is one of the most amazing things to me. The amount of things you can do in the kitchen to make things that should not exist. It just blows my mind. Like things that just change the complete flavor and stuff. It's almost like, when you were in chemistry class and you'd have that bottle of, I don't know, whatever chemical it would be, but it'd be a clear chemical, and you start dropping this other clear chemical in there. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and on the 10th drop, out of nowhere, boom, the whole thing becomes like a red plume, and it tastes like guava. And then you go to the hospital because you shouldn't have drank it. But the point is, cooking is a lot like that too, in the sense that you mix things. You can find out someone has to be the guinea pig to mix it and try it out, because no one's going to try it initially because it looks disgusting or just the combination of things doesn't make sense. But then someone sits down and gives it a shot, and just like how she just mentioned mushmelon and salt, all of a sudden making a mushmelon sweet, someone had to sit there and accidentally put salt on the melon to realize, holy shit, this kind of works. I'm glad I fucked that up. Like I was making chili once and accidentally poured cinnamon and sugar into the ground beef instead of cayenne pepper while I was cooking it. I did later learn from somebody that's actually apparently Cincinnati chili. Someone else fucked it up before I did. But at the time, I was impressed by the fact that I made a huge mistake combining things that should not go together, and it tasted surprisingly good. Ground beef, cinnamon, and sugar.
Ground beef, cinnamon, and sugar.
Yes. It was completely by accident. It was not.
Because your brain is kind of just...
My brain has been mushmelon since this whole conversation started.
Your brain is kind of just attuned to immediately liking sugar, regardless of what else is with it.
Oh no! I mean, if anything, I've actually shifted a little on that. Like, I still drink soda, I'll admit, but I cut back immensely. I went from not drinking soda at all to just having extremely cut back on it. And what that did was, I'll say, for example, like Joe and I'll be talking about these, like, these crazy new Mountain Dews. So I'll go get a case. Like, I bought a case of that Merry Christmas stuff they got right now. It's like cranberry pomegranate.
Oh, that's shit's so good.
It is good, but I can't drink it straight. I gotta cut it. It's too sweet now. Back in the day, I would chug that shit, but now it's too sweet. I have to cut it with water. Usually
that's pretty standard for people who are like dieting and cutting sugar out. I've been trying to do better, but I'm not doing great. My liver's just gonna explode.
I've been trying to do better too. I say as I drink my Mellow Yellow.
I mean, that's a good start, to be honest, though. Start cutting your soda. Like, literally cut, even like just intentionally cut it.
I've got bottles of water with me as well. I have to drink more water. I have gout, and I'm getting a flare up, and that sucks. I don't know if you know what gout is.
Yep.
Oh, I know. I have a Filipino friend who that's where I learned it, because apparently he claimed that that's like a thing that runs probably because of the cuisine. And I'm sitting there thinking, like, wait, seriously? That's what happens? Like, yes, it's just pain. Just like everything, it just feels like hot muscles, basically.
No, it sucks so bad. It's just a crystal of acid lodged in a joint. And it hurts so fucking bad. Like, you could barely walk on it, if you can at all. Thankfully, I haven't had a flare-up in years, and this one is fairly mild, so it's not hurting that bad, but it's definitely noticeable. So I'm trying to drink more water and take naproxen and all that. Wait,
you haven't had one in years, but you're having one right now?
Yeah.
Oh, Jesus. Is it because we talked about mushmelon?
Probably.
God, bloody hell.
I'm pretty sure the gout attack started pre-mushmelon talk.
Yeah, like 2-3 days ago.
I think it knew the mushmelon was coming.
Yeah, it had an idea.
I'm just saying, y'all would like the mushmelon with salt.
We all know. I think we know what Cole's picture is going to be for the podcast. It's going to be just her like holding this melon in her holler, preparing to maliciously pour salt all over it.
So, Chris, how are you doing? You've been quiet.
I'm doing all right.
Do you eat your melon with salt?
No. We used to eat cantaloupe with salt and pepper.
Okay, so cantaloupe was mushmelon. So yes.
Oh, okay.
You've had
I didn't know that.
mushmelon with salt. Yeah.
And here I thought that I thought the mushmelon was all, but this guy goes and adds pepper.
Yeah, that's
okay.
That's a bit much.
Oh, okay. It's just fine.
I can't front. We started putting pineapple on pizza. We just open the doors at that point. Season wherever you want. Put cheese on an apple. Do. So I can't even knock that.
I've been to Japan where they put like mayonnaise and corn on pizza and like things like that. Like it's ridiculous.
Mayonnaise and corn on pizza?
Yeah.
Oh, I could show you like a picture of a Pizza Hut like billboard, like not billboard, but a menu that was like out on the street so you could like look at the pizzas and decide what you want before you go into the restaurant. And yeah, like lots of stuff was like, you know how they do half and half pizzas? Well, they would do like 4-way pizzas where like each one was a different one and like everything would be different on each like quadrant. It was ridiculous and they're very expensive. So
honestly,
pineapple's the least of my concerns, to be honest.
Doc Havoc Japan looked at our pineapple pizza and asked us to hold their sake.
Mm-hmm.
There you go.
And I'm not going to lie, though. I mean, I envy that kind of thing because I feel as though pizza innovation is lacking in America. We're missing out. In fact, we're screwing up. It's like I've always thought that succotash pizza would be awesome. And the reason why I started thinking like that is because, well, my usual go-to for pizza was, what do you want, Pernell? Meat. Just put meat all over it. And it's not necessarily because I'm just like a raving carnivore. It's because a lot of the vegetable options don't appeal to me. The typical vegetable option that people order at pizza joints, I don't want. But I did, of course, recently adapt to like black olives and like broccoli and black olive. But
I can't do black olives. I don't like them.
I used to hate them. I developed a taste for them, which is unexpected.
I can eat them plain, but I can't eat olives on top of pizza.
But I generally think that there are so many more things that could go on pizzas that should be a regular option at restaurants that we just don't have. And I feel like they need to start experimenting with that more. All they ever been doing is like, want to put cheese somewhere else? Want to shove some cheese up that pizza's ass? We could do that now. Technology allows for that. I'm like, yeah, but it's just more fucking cheese. I don't care.
Speaking of cheese, I really thought, okay, so I don't know if Weird Flex is still a thing, but DiGiorno, their frozen pizzas, they have a bacon and cheese stuffed crust, right?
Okay.
Like, they've had that for a while. Well, on the corner of the box, it says over 2.5 feet of cheese.
Ow.
Don't love your arteries, eat this shit.
Well, it's just like, they're basically saying the circumference of the pizza, and like that has, cheese in it, which is kind of obvious, but they just like decide, hey, the circumference of a pizza is 2.5 feet. I got an idea.
Or 2.5 feet of cheese.
On how to advertise this thing.
Like, oh my God. It's like, what kind of cheese? Like
how many
Swiss?
feet of pizza does Totino's have? Or how many feet of cheese?
Not enough.
Exactly.
They don't have they lacking.
It's immeasurable.
This show is off the rails. We got to bring this back on topic. We got video games to talk about. Are you guys ready to do some reviews?
So is that the name of the episode? Is Off the Rails?
No. It's what the hell was I going to call it? A very Digerati Christmas.
Oh, I could dig it.
Because we have an interview with Digerati on the episode.
Mm-hmm.
And they have a shitload of games.
And it's Christmas.
Yeah. Well, Christmas is going to be next week. Next week's PartyCast is going to be all kinds of crazy.
So is that going to be called a very PartyCast Christmas?
I have no clue what I'm going to call it. I might just call it the Shit Show Christmas.
Dropping bits!
No time for games dropping 25 biddies. Thank you for those. For the snowmen.
Oh, you got time for games. Don't tell yourself that. Everyone's got time for games except that guy.
No time for games while you're dropping the biddies.
We got reviews we got to take care of. Cole, we're going to start with you. Are you excited?
Are we starting with me? I guess.
Yeah, because the first game to talk about tonight is called Cardpocalypse, developed by Gambrinous, company names. Gambrinous, published by Versus Evil, released December 12th on Xbox One, Switch, and PS4 for $24.99. On her first day at Dudsdale Elementary, 10-year-old Jess accidentally gets everybody's favorite collectible card game banned, forcing the kids to take their card battles underground. Troubles arise when mutants from the game invade the real world, and it's up to Jess and friends to stop them. Cole, tell us about Cardpocalypse.
So, if we're going to talk about Cardpocalypse first, then I am most certainly excited. I loved Cardpocalypse. And I will
don't
start
say
off by
that.
saying,
Not gonna go buy it.
Oh, did you play Slay the Spire?
I did.
Okay, did you like it?
Yes.
Okay, Cardpocalypse is a very similar premise as Slay the Spire. Take away the roguelite element, but the card game that you play has a lot of similarities. There's plenty enough that's changed that keeps it fresh too, though. I wanna go back before I start talking about the game. I want to go back and give Versus Evil the biggest of high fives for Jess. First off, the female character. Second off, she's in a wheelchair.
I love that in the trailer, but I'm big time fan of that too.
Third off, if you play through the side quests, there is one moment where she says that she can walk after one of the other students says that she can't. And the student's like, well, if you can walk, why are you in a wheelchair for? And she says, well, I can walk, but not without pain.
Oh.
The first thing I thought of was, holy shit, I think she has rheumatoid disease. Juvenile rheumatoid disease often puts you in a wheelchair at a young age. And you can walk, but it fucking hurts. And as I've said a billion times on this show, I have rheumatoid disease.
You what?
Surprise!
Bitch.
Disabled.
That's it. Podcast over.
Stop it alive. But in all reality, it meant a lot to me to see a character say that, because that's something that people don't understand. I actually, when I had back surgery 2 weeks ago, one of the nurses was a girl I had went to school with, and the nurse had put the IV in my hand that I used my cane with, and I was afraid to fall. So they put me in a wheelchair instead because I couldn't use my cane. And when they wheeled me in, she recognized me and she goes, well, get up out of that chair and use your own 2 feet, young lady. And I'm like, I'm here for back surgery. But people don't realize that just because you can move doesn't mean that it doesn't fucking hurt.
Yeah.
And to see that put into a game and see a character that understood that, it meant a lot. It's one of those representation things that we hear a lot about, but very few people go, oh, well, that actually meant something to me. And I'm gonna say, yeah, it was buried in a side quest, but it was there and it was important and it meant a lot. And I really want to, say kudos to Versus Evil for even including that sequence.
You mean Gambrinous?
Yeah, them too.
They're the ones who made it.
I couldn't pronounce it, so I was just rolling with Versus Evil because I could pronounce that one.
Poor Gambrinous or Gambrinous. They feel left out.
They're fine. I bet that's calling to say there's no school. Hold on a second.
Oh, Jesus.
It's a phone apocalypse.
We're in the middle of a review and you got to it's your review too, and you're stopping to take a phone call. Oh, my Lord. So the game is really cool. It has a cool visual style. I played a little bit of it myself. It's got a nice little hand-drawn cartoony art style that I really enjoyed. I enjoyed the fact that the character was in a wheelchair as well. It brings some diversity to video games. It's not often that you see a lead character in a game in a wheelchair outside of Professor X.
Oh, yeah. And, he's broken anyway. I feel like the whole concept behind Professor X is like, he's in a wheelchair and he kind of tried to play, but like the guy can move his entire body with his brain. He could just make himself walk mentally and no one would bat an eye. Like, I don't know. Like, I feel like for him to be like the one character in a wheelchair almost breaks the idea of like, oh crap, he's in a wheelchair. It's like, yeah, but he's freaking Professor X. He can do anything, damn near anything. I'm not even worried about it. He's fine. He's more capable than I am. That's for damn sure. But,
yeah.
I missed what led to that.
I said it's cool to have a character in a wheelchair in a video game that's not Professor X.
Yes. Especially, a female character to be the main character as well that you're playing as. And it does affect the way that Jess moves around in the world. Obviously, you're in a school setting, and schools are kind of notorious for not being wheelchair friendly. And there are areas like on the playground where there's a large area of steps and Jess can't go up them. There's a ramp on the side, so you have to go around and up the ramp.
Cool.
And then there's actually a side mission where you need to go downstairs into the basement of the school for a battle, but Jess can't do it. She just can't go. There's no ramp. So you have to have one of her friends go down for her in her place.
Oh, I thought they were going like, you say her friends like kind of carry the chair. That'd have been awesome.
We're talking 10-year-olds.
It's some hulky 10-year-olds, man. Those some kids that be eating like freaking whey bars and bench pressing cars in their spare time.
No, they're not lugging her down there. But it is impressive that, when she's not able to do something, they go in her place. But even in just like basic settings like the classrooms, there's obstacles. You need to go and talk to somebody on one side of the room, but you're going to have to get Jess around all the goddamn chairs and tables first because school,
Yeah.
So it was really, really creative how they put her into this setting, and then she can navigate around it, but it takes more effort than if there wasn't a wheelchair involved, and they thought all that through. And I definitely appreciate all of that. For the gameplay, as I mentioned, this is very Slay the Spire-esque. You do need to build up your decks. There are 4 available decks. The game you're playing is called Power Pets. It's based on a TV show. It gave me a lot of Yu-Gi-Oh vibes.
I was going to ask about that, like how similar it is to Yu-Gi-Oh.
Yeah, I remember when Dee's oldest nephew was very into Yu-Gi-Oh, and I did everything I could to avoid knowing anything about it, and yet I still bought him shit tons of Yu-Gi-Oh stuff. So it kind of reminded me of that in the way that it was like super popular with all the kids at school. It's everybody's favorite card game. There's an alternative called DigiWilds that nobody wants to play. It's very Pokemon versus Digipet. Is that what the other one was? Digimonsters? Was that the one?
Digimon are the champion.
Yeah, Digimon. See, I couldn't even remember them. But like Pokemon versus Digimon in that regard, in that like if you were playing Digipets, people would roll their eyes at you and not want to play. But if you had Power Pets, then you were popular and everybody wanted to play the game with you. You have to build up your decks, and initially you start off, you only have a starter deck. You do a tutorial, you learn how to play the game. It does have 2 difficulties, one being challenging, one being story. I gotta be honest, I've played through both and I can't tell a difference. I don't know why I was so concerned about playing challenging. I feel like I lost far more playing on story than I did on challenging, but maybe I just got good in the interim.
Maybe.
But I don't feel like there's a whole lot of difference in the two difficulties. When you approach somebody that you have to battle, there are certain rules in play. There's only so many cards you can draw to start off with, and then each turn you draw a card. Each player has a champion card, and the champion has 30 health, and then once they get to 15, they go into mega mode. So when they start with their 30 health, they have 1 attack point, and then they're, obviously they're 30 health. You can attack 1 time with each card per turn that you have down. Unless there's a special circumstances, sometimes they can get stunned or they get stolen by the other side and you can't control them anymore. You can have up to 4 minions down with your champion at a time, 4 on each side. So it's 8 minions total. And all of them, depending on how you build your deck out, can have different values. So the Woofians, for example, are very heavy hitters. They don't have a lot in the way of health, but they'll do shit tons of attack. So that may affect how you build out your deck and try to put in more defenders so that those have to be attacked before your champion can. Whereas I cannot remember the proper term for the ones that start with an S. I want to call them Sissians, and I don't know that that's accurate, but that's what we're going to roll with. They tend to be venomous reptiles, so they will have the lethal attribute, and anything that gets hit by a lethal is automatically destroyed. So you have to really think about how you're going to build out your deck, which type of deck you're going to build up when you do a playthrough. Like the first time I did a playthrough, I did it with the Sissians, because I wanted that lethal ability as much as possible so that I wouldn't have to worry about getting attacked too much. Excuse me. Whereas the second time I played through, I did it with the Woofians, and the third time I did it with the mutants.
Those are cat-based?
Those are cat-based.
Shocking.
So they have a lot of attacks like stun and conscript, which means they'll straight up just steal yours. Now I gotta remember what the other ones are, since I've said those 3. The other ones are like, I can't remember the name for them though, but they're based on rodents, like rabbits and mice and rats and stuff. Stupid cold. So yeah, once you get it, either the enemy's champion or your champion or both down to 15 health, then they go into mega mode. They get additional attack, and then they'll get an extra special ability. Like one of the snake champions gets the ability to make all of their minions lethal. Every one of them. Even if they're not already destined to be lethal, they'll all get lethal.
Your cough is awesome tonight.
I know, it's doing so good. I've already ate like 6 cough drops just since we started. My blood sugar's got to be a
Suck
thing.
on them. Don't eat them.
I am. That's the problem. But I need more melon. Yes. Lost my train of thought too. One of the Woofian abilities is that he can boost a minion, and you get to choose which minion he boosts. So pre-going mega, he can boost them for 1 attack and 1 health every move or every turn. Whereas after he's gone mega, then he can do 2 attack and 2 health boost every turn. So if you set it up to where you've got a defender that's taking your hits for you, then you can just build up an army of minions behind that defender and constantly keep boosting the defender with attack and health. Because anytime the opposing player attacks you, they do damage to you, to your minions or your champion, but they also get retaliated with whatever your attack number is. So if you build up high enough, them attacking you can be just as bad as you attacking them. Which leads to some interesting plays when you go into actually attacking with the champions. Because if you attack a champion whose health is already down, they're going to have a higher attack damage. You're only going to do 1 attack, whereas they're going to hit you back for 4.
Dark Mika, my brain hurts. Yeah, it's a pretty complex game.
It is, but it's one of those, like, when you're into it and you're playing it, it makes far more sense. And I will say, I think it was easier to learn overall and better explained than Slay the Spire.
Yeah.
Even though I think it's a little more complicated in play style.
I got heavy Magic the Gathering vibes from the game as well.
I've never played Magic the Gathering. It is amazing that I have taken to card games as I have this year.
And you haven't touched Magic.
I haven't.
Because they're great.
It's just not a... Cardpocalypse is great. Slay the Spire was great. But that does, bring me down to the ultimate pro for the game, as I said. It's just so well explained and so well laid out that even as you play over the 5 days, it gets gradually more difficult, and yet I never felt like I was hitting a difficulty brick wall. It was just constantly explaining to me any new elements that were added to the point that I knew how to handle it. As raving as my review for this game is, it is not without some downsides.
Let's hear them.
So the game is broke up into days, and at the end of each day, you go home with a friend, and then you play a game. You play a hand or two with them. When you're ready to leave, it starts the next day at school. So there are 5 days total to the story. By day 4, I started to notice that the game was having a lot of micro freezes and getting a little iffy. Once I got to day 5 on my first playthrough, the game decided anytime I was winning, it was going to rage quit. Full on crash to the dashboard.
Wow.
Every time. The game would freeze. There would be like a glitch line going down the middle of the screen, and then to the dashboard it would go. Every time I was winning.
Proud of you.
It was an incredible fuck up. And yet somehow with perseverance, let me point this out, with the game crashing whenever I was winning, I still managed to go on and beat it.
Jeez.
I got through it. It took me about an extra week longer than it should have.
Which is why we're reviewing this now instead of last week.
Every time it would do it, I would just have to leave the game off for a couple hours. Sometimes if I was playing at night, I'd just say, fuck it, I'll hit it tomorrow. And then some point magically it would decide, yeah, we're good. You can beat this one now. And it would be fine. And I would go on to the next, and then it would start the crash cycle again. So that's problematic. And that problem is still currently in existence. But I have been talking with the devs via email. I've told them exactly what was happening. Every tiny little glitch I have had with this game, I've been like, hey guys, I'm crashing your email party. This shit's broke. Because I love this game too much to see it fail. And so they have been incredible. They have taken all of my annoyances and frustrations and glitches and issues. There is a patch coming. It's just got to pass Microsoft certification, and we all know how that rolls. So I hope with every fiber of my being that I've helped get this game fixed, because I want to sit here and say everybody should fucking play this game.
Hope so. And we should note that we only played it on Xbox One. We didn't play it on Switch, PS4, or I believe it's on Apple Arcade as well. I know Root Beer's my jam saying that we should have played it on iPhone.
I don't even own an iPhone.
No.
You come at me with that Apple shit. Get out of here. That's just as bad as telling me to play it on PlayStation. Fuck off.
Well, damn. Tell us how you really feel.
Not at my house.
Oh, God. Well, as it stands at $24.99, what are your thoughts on Cardpocalypse?
I am going to give this a serious recommendation because I love it, but know that it's broken. Know that a patch is coming, and maybe just keep an eye on it and wait until that's out before you go whole hog into it.
But once it's patched, your thoughts?
Please buy it. Please buy this game and love it as much as I did.
All right. Next game to talk about is called Everreach Project Eden, developed by Elder Games, published by Headup, released December 4th on Xbox One and Steam for $24.99. Take on the role of Nora Harwood, member of Everreach's security division, on a mission to secure the colonization process of Eden and investigate the mysterious incidents. Everreach Project Eden is a fast-paced, story-driven action RPG set on the visually stunning planet Eden. Pernell, tell us about Everreach.
So, I love how like I always end up following like these like meaty ass reviews, and it's like, Pernell, what do you think? And I'm like, much less than that guy or that gal did, because this was going to be like that too. So Everreach takes place with Nora Howard and her two companions landing on this planet to investigate basically like a sort of radio silence incident that's been taking place there. And then, of course, things happen resulting in them splitting up or getting separated or whatever. And you, as the controller of Nora, has to go on a one-woman expedition to solve the problem. And whereas I originally expected this game to be more like a open world sort of game, it's interesting that they went with a more linear from a story perspective scenario. So the game is broken up into chapters, with each chapter taking place in a specific area of the world, with you being tasked with performing a function like investigations, or go here and figure out what's going on, or go back and go get supplies here and bring them back, or go see if you can figure out if this is where the signal's coming from to rescue your friend, stuff like that. But when you're out there, they kind of give you like fairly large maps with which to run around in to explore. And the world itself looks really nice. However, I will say that there is I guess it's intentional, but it's a lot of bloom. I guess it's the term that you want to call it, where it's kind of like almost like a flare, like camera flare. So everything feels bright, but it doesn't really take away from it. It's just something I noticed. But honestly, the game looks nice to me. I think it looks pretty nice. But as you're running around, you have access to one gun and later two, which can be fired with the right trigger button. And of course, there's like typical like zoom in with the camera to kind of do zoom in shots. And if you don't want to do that, you can just kind of do standing shots, which is interesting because when you're actually attacking enemies in the game, maybe it's just me, but I felt like it was surprisingly hard to like get that nailed shot in. So it might be just a matter of me being used to some games doing like auto aim or whatever, but I usually find myself needing to do do the crouch stance and hard aim or whatever to get shots off. But it's not a big deal. It's just kind of what it is. So when you're on the game, you're essentially running around the map trying to fulfill whatever your main objective is for that stage, with the occasional submission that was bestowed upon you by an NPC that you might have come across in the game. When you actually explore the map, you can occasionally come across treasure chests or just crates of containers or whatever. And when you open those up, you can get one of three things. You can get either liquid nitrogen, EM quills, or energy cells. Those resources are what you use to upgrade your character. So the game itself has a pretty large, I guess, node tree. I don't want to call it skill tree because these aren't skills. It's just mostly stat benefits with a few skills embedded in it. So you might go to a skill ability node that says, hey, you need to get some like this much liquid nitrogen, this many coils, and this many EM or energy cells, this many coils to unlock it. In which case you will, and it typically will give Nora a different boost in the form of like her health bar getting larger, her shield getting larger, her finding like different types of ammo more frequently, and that sort of thing. But then every once in a blue moon, you'll come across a larger node, which will give you an actual ability, of which there are 4 in this game. 4 primary ones that are mapped to buttons anyway. So you have the shield overload, which allows you to blow up the shield that you have. Think like the shield in, like, say, Halo or something like that. It allows you to blow it up, drain it off, do like damage to enemies. Then there is a force field, which you can use to put up a wall to block bullets from coming in. And then there's a couple other ones which I'm not going to spoil, but essentially they're pretty much all mapped to the face button. And there's a few other ones that are just kind of there to kind of add to the gameplay, just like a charge ability, which I thought was pretty cool. It allows you to like kind of boost your weaponry by running, which is weird, but different, and I kind of appreciated that. But each of these nodes, in addition to being locked behind the actual cost, are also locked behind your skills. They call them your skill gauge, but it's just basically skill points attributed to strength, agility, and intelligence. So if you boost those up, they will also increase your health, your shield, and your stamina for running. But depending on how high they are, that's also determines like, okay, you can unlock this node on the ability tree because you now have 8 in strength, which is what the requirement was to unlock this ability. So as far as the game itself goes, the characters, they're kind of stiff as far as like just when they're actually socializing with each other and like during story sequences. So I wasn't quite feeling all the dialogue exchanges, with the exception of two things. One, Nora started kind of grow on me. She didn't really have much of emotional expression or range, but I still kind of was like, okay, I can take her as being like sort of like a hard-nosed like captain type. I was like, okay, hi, I'm here to do this. All right, I can take them all by myself. You stand back. I didn't really feel like she needed to be too emotional, like having a lot of emotional expression in her words. Like she's just a hard ass. But there's a computer you come across that becomes your companion in the game, which I thought was pretty funny. It is a computer that had his humor circuit was adjusted because the previous owner felt as though it was too cold and it was not very good for the morale of everyone that was still left on the colony. So she tried to, without authorization, change the actual she tried to change the programming for it, but it resulted in screwing it up, and it became like a robot that was only capable of telling really bad jokes and just having bad humor. So it honestly livened a lot of dialogue up in the game when that robot would talk. I like that a lot. Every once in a while, also, there's story sequences that require you to like kind of drive a vehicle, being a jet bike, and these jet bike sequences, they're not bad. I don't like the controls for the bike too much, but you adjust to them when the game requires it. You know how it is sometimes with a lot of these games, but I'm going to flat out say it's not smooth. Just something you adapt to get the game moving. But you'll typically find yourself evading fire in this thing. You have a firearm as well attached to it, but it's kind of hard to work with because you don't get to really aim it. It's just as you're riding the bike, sometimes the enemies will be kind of flying in front of you, and the cursor will pop on. It's like, shoot it. You're like, okay, but you're not really targeting it so much as the bike is targeting it for you. So I guess it takes some of the fuss out of it, so it's not all bad. But just know that you're kind of doing it on its own. Ultimately, I felt as though I enjoyed learning about the actual environment and what was going on, but I also found myself I wasn't really gripped by it. I just kind of enjoyed it for what it was. But one big issue that I will point out that I think would affect anybody who wants to try this game is the loading times are friggin' atrocious. Yeah. Like, I typically don't complain about load times. I'm a very patient guy. Like, I typically think, I can sit here and just kind of cut my nails or look at the internet, whatever. But kid you not, from pressing start story to the game booting up takes 3 minutes.
Damn.
2.5 to 3 minutes. And every single time you die, 2.5 to 3 minutes. And I am not making up because I sat here and timed it. It could be maybe it's how I have it stored. Maybe I should put it on like the system's hard drive instead of like a read drive that's off the system. I don't know. But those load times were rough. If anything, the real penalty for death is waiting to load it back up. So that is something I definitely feel as though is worth mentioning. But I mean, with that aside, the game, it doesn't offer a ton of like in the form of variety and stuff, but in the sense of like, hey, I'm playing this indie third-person shooter of sorts, because it's third person, it's not first person. This indie third-person shooter with a plot, and you're more so involved just to want to see this is where the story's going to go with it. I want to see what they did with it. I think it's a worthy venture for that. But do not come into this game off of a high of like Halo Reach or like Gears of War 5 and think you're going to get anywhere even close to that. You're getting an indie studio's like early attempt at making this like a third person adventure action RPG style game. And I think they did a decent job with that, which makes it fun.
Well, then for $25, what is your verdict?
I think it's a genuine try, but if it ends up going on a decent sale, I'd give it a buy on that point.
Cool. I had my eye on this one as well, so it's good to hear that you enjoyed it.
Thank you, good sir. Apple Jacks also.
Apple Jacks. Why Apple Jacks?
Because for some reason I really want some. I haven't had any in ages, and when I get particularly hungry but not willing to eat, I think about weird cereals.
You're a weird person, Pernell.
Like Christmas Crunch. Remember Christmas Crunch? Like the real stuff, not that fake crap they keep in the stores now. The real stuff where they came with sprinkled or glitter frosting.
Man.
So next up on the review train, Christmas Crunch.
Yeah,
Tell us
Christmas
about it,
Crunch.
Joe.
Next up, no, for
Tell us
real.
about it, Joe.
Next game to talk about is called River Bond, developed and published by Coco Cucumber, released December 10th on the Switch for $24.99. Embark on a heroic journey to complete missions, battle adorable enemies, and smash everything into tiny cubes. Will you and your friends be the legendary heroes of River Bond? Chris, tell us about River Bond.
All right. And I think the answer to that is yes, because I just beat the fourth boss.
Nice.
While the other reviews were going. But, yeah, high score. Frig. And then my cat just attacked my kneecap. I'm having a hard time here. Okay.
Everyone's distracted tonight. This episode's going off wonderfully.
I know, right? Okay, River Bond. So, River Bond is a cutesy kind of level-based. One might say a Zelda-like, but also a twin-stick shooter, just depending on which weapon you decide to use. So when you start the game, well, of course, you can go through a tutorial and pick up your default weapons, and it teaches you how to play the game. But apart from that, the way that you proceed through the game is that there are 9 different levels, each one with a giant boss. And when you select a level, you go in, and each level is broken up into chapters. So each chapter has a goal, and as soon as you do the goal, you go through a golden door, and then that takes you to the next stage. Pretty simple. In fact, simplicity appears to be this game's main thing. So yeah. The art style is really, I think, where, people are going to be most drawn to this one, because everything is done in voxel style, which is, of course, blocky pixels. Everything looks like they're made of Legos, but in the 3D world, And this one, actually, they are super elaborate. Like, I really appreciate where this game is taking, like, that art style. And yeah, like when you actually get a preview of each boss whenever you're looking at their stages, and each one just looks like mega awesome. Like, I really wish they would get with Legos and let us build these things. And of course, the other thing about this is, bizarre stuff. So like, for instance, the first boss of Restwater Valley is a shark with an apron and a spatula and cast iron skillet that you have to defeat. So and it's attacking pirates or something like that. I don't really remember. There's this overall story about the Eldra spirit, and it's kind of explained in tiny chunks throughout the game, and I don't think it really matters. So I haven't really been paying attention. So yeah, you play through this as the main character, who is Max. He is a I think his name is Max. Whatever. It is now. And
you could change your character too, so.
Yeah, that's what I was getting at. But, by default, your character is a rabbit in a ninja suit who's doing this cute Naruto run, in the title screen, with his backpack that has carrots hanging off of it and stuff. And as you go through the game, each stage will have treasure chests peppered throughout it, and every time you get a treasure chest, it'll get you either a new weapon or a new skin. That is to say, a whole new character to play. They call them skins, but obviously they're a whole different thing. So you end up being able to play things as absurd as of course, the Ninja Bunny, and then of course you can be a slice of watermelon. You can be a penguin. A boombox if you want. You can also be a donut, of course, and a pug, but you could be a pug, but just the head of a pug bouncing around. You can be 2 different kinds of sushis. You can be a chicken in a sweater. You can be an eggplant. You can be a piece of candy corn. You can be Mr. Krabby, which is Krabby spelled without the K, so no copyright infringement. They even brought in some guest stars. So far, what I've unlocked is the kid from Bastion, a character, I guess, Juan Aguacate from Guacamelee.
Nice.
And also got a character from, Lover Moo from Lovers in a Dangerous Spacetime. So they're, bringing in the indie crowd. I'm really hoping I see, Max from Mutant Muds up in here at some point. But so like they say that there's like 50 different characters that you can unlock. And then the other thing is that when you open treasure chests, they could have new weapons for you that they're all kind of variations on the same type of thing. So you have your swingy swordy weapon, which is one of your default weapons, of course, is the silver sword. And that, you just swing, and if you hold it down, you can charge it and do a spin attack. It's very trademark Zelda. And then, of course, you have your ranged weapons, which, even though it starts off with like a pew-pew laser gun, like you can get a crossbow like that, or other things. But yeah, they're basically ranged weapons, and it works. Either you can push the Y button to shoot it in whatever direction you're facing. Not the Y button, I'm sorry. Oh, yeah, it is the Y button. I am reviewing the Switch version. You can push the Y button to shoot in whatever direction you're facing, or you can switch. You can use the second trigger to to do a dual trigger, type of dual stick aiming rather. And then there's like stabby weapons and big swingy weapons, double-handed weapons, and they start with the standard stuff, but just like everything else in the game, it quickly goes absurd. You end up wielding a piece of ham or a lollipop or anything like that.
The game's pretty crazy. They have a nice variety of weapons and characters, and it's just really crazy and batshit, and I loved it.
Yeah, me too. So basically the way it plays out, just you basically go through the levels, defeat a boss. Oh, by the way, every boss that you defeat in this game becomes a skin, so you can play as any of the bosses once you've beaten them once, which is really cool. So a few things about this game. One is that I noticed is that like when you start a level, if you unlock a skin or something, like it's okay to quit and you'll still have that skin, but you can't mid-save it throughout the stages. You have to defeat the boss to go back to the title screen hub in order to really save your progress. Otherwise, you're just going to keep starting the stage over. And every stage, like I said, is broken up into many levels. So if you don't have 15 to 20 minutes to dedicate to a session, then you're not going to get too far. However, once you're in the game, there's an interesting thing I noticed is that if you fall off the cliff and die, or if you take too much damage and die, which is very often in the later stages because there's no real character growth, you just start over. If you're in the stage, then you start over from the beginning of the stage. Or if you're in a boss fight, you start over from the boss fight. Or if you've gone into a special room, then you'll start over in the room. But nothing has changed. Like every enemy that you've attacked up to that point still has that damage done. If a boss has killed you, you just go back and the boss still has, that same amount of damage taken off of them. So it's very much a game that you can just, like I say in the arcade games, rich kid strats.
Yeah.
You can just, keep continuing until you defeat the game. In that sense, you can't really lose this game. I don't think ever. Unless they do something weird in the end game or something like that. But then again, there's not really an end game because you can select any stage from the very beginning. It's just that if you work your way left to right and, up to down, then, that the levels get progressively harder in that sense. And of course you unlock, the story goes from being really goofy to characters actually start talking serious, which is funny to me. Because I was going to say this is a perfect game for children and non-readers and things like that. But in fact, the story does get a little bit more involved a little later. But having said, it's absolutely a game that would work well for the younger set. And then, of course, there's the multiplayer, which I really like in this one. In this game, you can, while you're walking around, fighting enemies, and by the way, destroying everything. Most of the environments are completely destructible. So that's fun. You can chop down trees while you're fighting enemies and things like that if you like, and pick up huge things and throw them at enemies and each other. And yeah, anytime that a second, third, and even fourth player want to join in, they can just, pick up the controller and push start, and they're in the game. And anytime they want to actually duck out, if they take a death, then just hold down the X button, and they'll take themselves out of the game. So it's very much a drop in and drop out style of multiplayer that I really appreciate. And I feel like this game would be excellent with 4 players. So, but yeah, was there anything else I was going to talk about? There's a King's Garden for some reason. I don't understand it. It's just walking around it. I guess it must be a place that unlocks once you've unlocked everything else, because it's got a big lock on the door and all of the characters' skins are walking around that you can talk to and stuff. I
don't remember. I wonder if that was added in an update, because I know when I first played it on Xbox, there were only 8 stages. I'm glad you mentioned there's a 9th, because now I have another stage to go back and play on Xbox. I had the completion, the 1,000 out of 1,000 completion. They added another 100 achievement points, so now I'm going to have to go back and beat that 9th stage and get the full completion again. But yeah, I don't remember that King's Garden. That must be something that they added in.
It must be, yeah, because I guess you walk around and it's just all the skins are walking around, and if you've unlocked them, then they're solid. If you haven't, then they're just kind of transparent. Maybe it's just a way to check them all out at once. But yeah, there's a big door with a lock on it, so I imagine there's some way to unlock it by, doing something else. But yeah, so really, besides unlocking everything, I guess the only real incentive to play through the game multiple times is high score, which but I haven't really seen anything else for that. So in that sense, this game is really simple, which works for it. But yeah, if you try to dig much deeper into that, then it's not there. It's just lots of good cute and fun content. It's a very, very fun game, Yeah.
Well,
but the lag. Oh, go ahead.
I was going to say, for $25, what do you think on it?
I think it's great, especially if you can get other people to play it with you, because it really seems suited for that. Like I said, though, for $25, that's a high price point for an indie, download only title. Thus, just be warned that things like character growth aren't there. It's just unlocking new things. When you unlock new skins, that's great, but they don't do anything. It's the exact same character every time. So it's things like that. It's not a lot of depth. So I would advise somebody who only has $25 to drop on a game that wants something more in depth to maybe look elsewhere. But I absolutely really, really enjoy this game. And like I said, it's, I wanted to play another level while everybody else was talking. So I got through an entire stage and and it was great.
And for people who have an Xbox, it is still on Game Pass. So you could always play it that way as well.
Oh, hey, there you go.
Yeah. All right, next game to talk about is called Weakless, developed by Cubish Games, published by Punk Notion, released December 13th on Xbox One for $19.99. Weakless is a beautiful puzzle adventure game with a stunning organic environments filled with curious life forms and a bioluminescent glow. Plays 2 weavelings, carefree wooden creatures, one of which is deaf, the other blind. Switch between the two, solve unique puzzles, and save their world. Cole, tell us about Weakless.
You just covered all of it. There's nothing left for me here. So to actually do the review before I give my verdict, because I'm in the habit of not giving away the ending. Weakless, as you said, is the story of 2 little woodland creatures. They're called weavelings. Not a lot about the story is given to you in the game. They take the approach of everything being situational. And so there's no dialogue, there's no text. Anything that you're going to garner from the story is going to come from the world around you, and occasionally you'll run into cave paintings almost on the walls, or the character Deaf, it has a fondness for painting, and you will find areas where he can sit and paint, and then you can look back through your book to see what he's painted. Those things can help give you a little more insight into the story, but anything that you're actually going to gather is going to be from the world itself. Given that the two characters are both disabled in different ways, it kind of spins up the friendship between them, and it drives the way that you solve puzzles. When you're playing as deaf, you can switch between the two dynamically. So when you're playing as deaf, there's a lot less sound in the world. Any background music sounds kind of muffled and muted. You don't get anything in the way of like ambient noise. When you switch over and are in control of blind, you have the entire world goes monochromatic. And they take a perception approach to blind's vision in that he has a cane and you can tap the world, tap the cane, and using echolocation, a little bit more of the world becomes visible to you. But it is, again, it's all audio based into what he can quote unquote see. So if there's water dripping in the distance, you might see just a little indication of that. And that like there will be a little bit of a flash of light wherever the water is dripping at. You can, tap the stick and maybe pinpoint where some rocks or things like that are as well to help you kind of navigate around a little bit better. I will say that blind is a little more difficult to play as for obvious reasons. But most importantly, there is one puzzle that you will come across where deaf gets caught on like these conveyor belts, and blind has to navigate around and find the switches and change the directions of the conveyor belts. You have the advantage of being able to hear the belts, so you can kind of, see for all intents and purposes which direction they're going. But you don't have enough of an image to see how they're all connected to each other. So it's kind of just a crapshoot. And even though there are guides, and I was trying to use a guide for this specific puzzle because I got to a point where I was about to throw my controller out the window. It was the first puzzle in this game to make me go, what the fuck are they trying to do here? Did they want me to hate this? Because the rest of the game up until this point was very relaxed. The puzzles were pretty simple. There were a couple that were where you had to like hit, I forget what the proper term for those was. They're like these sound pads on the ground that you hit with blind's cane, and they make an auditory responses, and obviously it being an auditory puzzle you have to do it with blind. So for some reason though, the puzzle with the conveyor belts just felt unfairly difficult. And it was the first time in the game where I was like, why is this suddenly hard? And there was nothing I could do about it. And I even tried to use a guide, but there's so little detail available to blind that even with a guide, I was getting lost, and I just finally was like, I'm going to break something. And I had to stop playing for a while and go calm down.
Oh, man.
Before I came back to it again. I generally wouldn't mind something like that if I knew it was going to be there, if the game had built up that kind of difficulty. But it felt like it just kind of come out of nowhere in a game that otherwise was just like, yeah, tap here, move there, you're good, let's go. I will say, Weekless is easily one of the prettiest games I have played this year.
Wow.
It's gorgeous. There is no detail spared, because even though blind can't see the world, deaf can. And so everything is super vibrant and almost like the deaf's visual senses is magnified a bit for the sake of the lack of hearing. And so you're just absolutely soaked up in this world. And it's so creative the way that they've weaved in the puzzles, and they've weaved in the navigation and everything. The way you explore the world, the way it looks, the way it feels. You can just get lost looking at it. It's beautiful.
Yeah, I'm pulling up screenshots. It's a good looking game.
It is. I took a screenshot myself, and I very rarely take a screenshot in a game unless I intend to use it as my background. The background that I had, if I remember correctly, was from the first tree, and I replaced it with one from Weakless. Because I had got a sequence where I had blind sitting down, or not blind, Deaf was sitting down painting, because there's like paint spots where Deaf will sit down and paint. And as Deaf had sat down to paint, the AI had moved to blind up beside of him. And so it looked like they were looking out over this cliff, and they were side by side. And it was just really pretty. And I was like, oh, I'm going to hit that button. And so I did.
Proud
and then
of you.
I set it as my wallpaper. When the hell did the first tree come out? 'Cause that means it's been a while since I've changed my wallpaper.
I don't know. I can't remember last week.
I don't either. I play so much. Please send help.
Break is coming soon. Don't worry.
Wait. It's not a break though. I have like 74 reviews to prepare for when the break's over. But I absolutely love just the appearance and the overall look and feel. I do wish that the one puzzle in the middle was not such a steep spike in difficulty. I wish there was just a little something to help you with it. I don't know what it could have been. Or maybe the puzzle just couldn't have been there at all. That would have been better. I hated that puzzle, but I loved every other part of the game.
Well, then for $20, what are your thoughts?
I'm gonna give it a buy it. Normally I would be like, $20 on a puzzle game, and especially given that Weakless is kind of short. Using a guide, you could knock it out in like an hour and a half.
Yeah, that's using a guide though. That's cheating.
Without one, you're gonna run into the 3-hour mark or so. Especially if you pull me and get stuck on that fucking puzzle with the stupid conveyor belts. That's where like the conveyor belts and my kids interrupting me constantly is where all my time and Weakless went. The rest of it was just a lot more straight through.
Friggin'
and
kids.
Enjoyable. Oh, and they're off school tomorrow too now. Yay. But I did enjoy my time with it. So even at a $20 price point, I'd be like, yeah, it's worth it. I definitely give it a buy it.
Awesome. Sounds good.
Yay.
All right, next game to talk about is called Eternum X, developed by Flynn's Arcade and Radden Games, published by Zero Uno Games, released December 10th on Xbox One and PS4 for $12.99. Sir Arthur has gotten old, too old. He has lost everything he had and loved, and with nothing more to lose, he leaves for Samaranth, an evil subterranean kingdom which no knight has ever returned alive, in search of treasures, adventures, and the most important thing of all, 5 magical orbs that together provide eternal youth. Pernell, I know you covered this one on the Switch. I just checked it out on the Xbox. What did you think of it on the Switch?
Honestly, on the Switch, I thought it was a great game. So it was very arcadey. The character Arthur in this game, unlike in Ghosts and Goblins, though, this has nothing to do with that, but let's be realistic. It was totally meant to be based off of like a follow-up to Ghosts and Goblins.
Oh, yeah.
In every way. Arthur does not control like he did in that. He's an old man, feeble as all balls, but he still got hops, mad hops. And he uses those hops to jump around these maps basically maps being 5 maps per world with a total of 5 worlds, 1 for each orb. And he is basically hopping around these levels with the goal for each stage within the world being to collect every treasure chest that's littered on the map. And then by doing so, he opens the portal door to get the heck out of Dodge, and poof, he's gone. Now, this is meant to be evoke the feelings of classic arcade games. So when you play this, you're kind of going for high scores. Well, you don't have to. There's a normal mode where the whole idea is just to kind of play through the story too, with saves and everything. But
yeah, there's a home mode which gives you saves after every world, and a limit of 3 continues. And then there's an arcade mode, which doesn't save after any worlds, but you have unlimited continues.
And with that one, I Like, honestly, I mainly played the home mode, but even with that, I still had my mindset on get those points. And the reason why it's an interesting mechanic there is because this game, remember how earlier I mentioned that you have to collect treasure chests to unlock the exit to get through stages. Well, you can pick up a treasure chest as it is, a sealed box, and it's usually worth like 200 points. But if you headbutt the block it's standing on about 2 to 3 times, it opens the chest up. And now the chest is worth like 600 points. So it triples
whatever the value
of the
is.
box. Yeah. It's like it can be anything. I know, like, even there's that one special chest where you have to hit it to unlock it and then hit it again to open it up.
Mm-hmm.
And that's worth a stupid amount of points. But the game doesn't make it easy to do that because enemies are flying in from all over the damn place, even on the earliest stages. And the enemies spawn in a variety of ways. They rise up from the ground. Some they just appear out of thin air. They'll come from the side, off the screen. And they have a variety of movement patterns in the sense that if you're not careful, you can easily become overwhelmed by just the flood of enemies that hit the screen. And the only way you can really fight back is to whack them with your cane, which has absolutely no reach. They have to pretty much be right in your face to connect. So if you can help it, you'll probably avoid attacking guys if you can, because you don't want to run the risk of screwing up the swing and getting killed. Though occasionally, I guess there are power-ups that show up every once in a while that can like also help you. Like there's one power-up I've seen come up where it floods the screen with like bullets, like fireballs that kind of kill things if they bump into them. But for the most part, you are hopping, bopping, and caning away, trying to survive till the high holy hell days are over. At the end of each world, there's a boss who's honestly, they're usually pretty big for a game like this. And I don't want to call them, actually, no, they're not easy at all, actually. I know there's chase bosses and there's like normal like melee bosses too, but I've gotten up to like pretty much, I hadn't even beaten the game. I got to like the 4th world, got my ass handed to me there because I refused to like just do one world at a time. I'm like, no, from the beginning to the end. But I like the game and I like the idea of playing it for a high score. I think they get a good job with it too on the Switch too. It's just a genuinely good game, a very solid arcade game. But what about you on the Xbox?
I am fucking awful at this game. I got to be honest. I didn't get that far at all. I played on arcade mode thinking that I could just, rich kid strats like Chris says, to just get through all the levels with as many continues as I need. The problem is when you get to the boss levels, there's like a climb sequence that you have to get through before you fight the boss. And then the boss itself is tough. He takes a lot of hits and you die in one shot. So the strategy of sorts would be to do it on the home mode where it saves after every world. And while you're playing through the main levels, work on opening as many chests as you can to stock up on 1-ups and extra lives and whatever extra bonuses you can so that you can just battle of attrition and survive through the boss fights and then do it all over from scratch with the next world. And I failed miserably at that.
Yeah, it's because it's like I said, it's not an easy game at all. Like,
no, not at all.
By any means, it's not easy. And I'm kind of okay with it because when you go for arcade style gameplay in that sense, I feel like by virtue of even saying that, you have to make it hard. Like, because that's how all arcade games were. They were meant to eat your money, and they were meant to make the best rise up with that high score chart. Like, who got the high score? Oh my god, how far did you get in Miss Pac-Man to get that? Because even games as simple as Miss Pac-Man were built to be busted. Like, you were meant to pull your hair out on the higher levels of Miss Pac-Man, unless you just kind of develop that sixth sense with the controller. You're just kind of like eating a pizza with one hand and just like blindly leading her with the other because nothing can catch you. But this game definitely carries that style on his shoulders without regret and without shame. It has no qualms with that.
Yeah, and you mentioned Pac-Man. The gameplay reminded me a lot of Pac-Man, and it's basically you're trying to guide yourself through somewhat of a maze to collect all the treasure chests, and it had a very Pac-Man-like vibe to it that I really dug.
Oh, yeah. Just collect all the items on the stage and get to the exit.
Yep.
I also like something like Mappy or maybe Flicky. But
Mappy.
No, Flicky would count.
Good old Mappy. I haven't played Mappy in God knows how long.
And it makes me sad, too, because that's the sort of... I wonder if it's on any of the Namco collections that are floating around out here that are on these modern systems, because I wouldn't mind playing Mappy again in current time. But, like, yeah, it's like those are the kinds of games that I miss, and I like playing stuff like that. So this game hits that in such a way where I'm like, oh, yeah, I feel a nice hit of nostalgia here, but at the same time, it's a completely new game. It's not a retread. It's a new product. And quite frankly, I will greatly appreciate when people make that effort to give me something I liked, but with a fresh coat of paint.
Yeah. That said, I think $13 is a little on the pricier side for what's there. I mean, there is a lot of content. There's 2 different modes, but the gameplay is fairly basic, although it is very addictive once you get into it. If this were $10, I would give it an automatic buy it just because of how fun it is. $13, it's more on like the recommended try it side. It's worth checking out. Maybe wait for a sale. If you got the money burning a hole in your pocket and you're looking for some old school arcade action, this will scratch that itch.
And how I have to agree with that, honestly, too, because I am a cheap ass. But if I was sitting on like an extra bit of cash, just like, hey, Merry Christmas, here's some money, I can see myself throwing it at this. But by that same token, if I'm really hard up for cash and I paid for it, I'm like, I might want to hold back for a sale. But I do agree that once you get it, you will play it and you will enjoy it. Just you'll question, was it all worth it?
Yeah, and but it's still a lot of fun, so it's definitely worth checking out.
Here to that.
All right, we got one final game to talk about tonight. That is called Gunlord X, developed by NG Dev, published by East Asia Soft. It released December 10th on PS4 for $9.99. Save mankind from the evil Lords of Steel that are threatening the galaxy. Chris, tell us about Gunlord X.
All right. Well, actually, it's basically a re-release of a game called Gunlord that was developed back in 2012. Actually came out on the Neo Geo and the Dreamcast. So, yeah, pretty interesting.
Learning something.
Yeah. This game actually, and I actually looked this up when it first hit the eShop because I was like, oh, this looks kind of cool. And then they said something about, I looked it up, said something about remake, so I looked it up. And yeah, NG Dev is a German indie developer that I guess they made a few unlicensed games for Neo Geo back in the day, which is really interesting. And actually, in that sense, they made a shooter that was called Last Hope, which is sometimes called Last Hope Pink Bullets. And that was a shmup, a side-scrolling shmup that starred a lady called, I want to say Vanessa Gaiden or something like that. And let me see. I'm correct. Yes. Nice. I had the page pulled up. So she, at the end of that game, or at the beginning of this game, basically it explains that it doesn't say anything about that game. It just says that she was a pilot that, got a great victory, but it was taken from her when she was kidnapped. But she had recently gotten married to a guy called Gordian Gaiden, who has a suit called the Gunlord. And he is now tasked with going and saving his wife. This is all explained. Well, it's somewhat explained in the intro to the game, which is ridiculous. It is one of the silliest intros to a somewhat serious video game that I've ever seen in my life. I love it so much. I posted it on my Facebook. But basically, it just shows him tied up and there's these 3 evil guys and stuff behind a computer chair and stuff. And, he's in his suit and everything like that. And they're like, you are captured. And he's like, what? He's like, this can't be. I have to rescue my wife. And they're like, you can't escape. You don't have a gun. All in one sentence without punctuation. Oh, and he says, no gun, eh? And then in parentheses it says activates gun teleporter. And then suddenly he has a gun. And he goes, you're cute, in pink letters. He goes, I'm the gun lord. And then he blasts them. They're all like, aye. And then he says, have a nice day. And then he jumps in his ship and flies off. That's the intro to the game.
I think I'm sold just based on that.
That's the. They don't actually say that, but it's
bullets.
That's the previous game, and I really hope they bring that to the Switch too. Well, this is for PS4, but it came to the Switch first last year, just as a background to that too. Like, it came out on Neo Geo and Dreamcast in 2012, and then nothing, and then the Switch in 2019, and now it's just now showing up on PS4.
Fingers crossed Xbox comes in the future.
Yeah.
2024, totally. Apparently.
Okay, so the actual video game is you are the gun lord, and it is a run and gun adventuring platformer. So basically what it is, and you know, if you need another game, if you're well versed in the games and you need something to compare this to, absolutely it's like Turrican, Super Turrican, whatever. It has that real like total like, you know, European computer game flavor to it, like you know, like an Amiga thing, or you know, something like really super fancy Super Nintendo like, or Neo Geo in that sense, like Super Nintendo running at constant 60 frames per second. You run around and you got a gun and you shoot enemies and collect like power-ups and stuff. All of your shots in the game take up neatly 30% of the screen at all times. It's lots and lots of firepower. When they called this guy the Gun Lord, they were not, you know, messing around with that name. So you get basically in each stage, and I thought this was only going to be for the first stage since it's kind of like an introductory stage, but no, it's all throughout the game. There's just constant like weapon drops and things like that. You know, bomb drops. You basically have your regular shot. You have a screen clearing bomb that you can collect throughout the stages, and that's pretty much it. You collect little pink jewels and larger jewels, and I'll get to those in a second. But basically, you have a few different kinds of gun. You know, you have your spread shot gun. You have your giant fireball gun that shoots in one direction, but it's shooting giant fireballs, and they, you know, go through walls and stuff.
Nice.
And then you have your barrage of bullets that bounce off of any surface and thus can fill up the entire screen pretty easily. Those are your regular weapons. If you collect the right combination or the right power-ups, which I'm not exactly sure what the right combination is because the game is chaos, like as fast as it moves and as much stuff as is going on. But, you know, you actually get like upgraded and sometimes combined shots with certain things, and that's on a timer. So, you know, that's just kind of a boost to get you through a certain part of the stage if you like. And then, like I said, the adventuring part of it is basically to where to get to the end of the level, there's actually several paths. So you don't ever have to commit yourself to just one direction. And the game is really good about once you started down a path and like it branches off into all these different spaces, the game will point out which is the right direction to get to the boss. You can feel free to ignore that and explore a different part of the stage. And, you know, next time you come around, that arrow will still be there relative to where you are. So it's really nice because these are giant maps. These stages are really, really big. And yeah, you get to the boss or bosses. Some of the later stages actually have multiple bosses in them.
Ooh.
Yeah. And each one has an achievement attached to it as well, if you're an achievement hunter. It doesn't literally say that. They're just doing the IE thing, okay? It's still really funny. Like I said, I posted it on my Facebook. I'll post it on Twitter too. Like, people need to see that. It's just 1 minute. The entire intro is 1 minute, and it has to be seen. So yeah, like basically you run around the stages and find all these power-ups and stuff. Sometimes if you shoot the air, it will cause a platform to appear, like a little computer robot platform. And if you shoot that platform, it will actually disperse like all of the different shots that you can then switch to, like Contra style. Or if you bump it from underneath, it might shoot out like something that recovers one of your energy blocks or something like that. You have 3 energy blocks in the game that, you know, if you get shot 3 times, then you're dead. And then you have, like, basically if you die, you show up pretty much in the exact same spot, even if you're in imminent danger. But fortunately, the game gives you a supple amount of iframes to get through the obstacle. But then if you get a game over, actually no, the game overs, you still start off in the same spot. But if you get all the game overs, then it's done. Like, you have to start the stage over again from the like stage select screen, which appears. and you've lost all your progress up to that point. But you can start on any stage as long as you've beaten the prior stage, which was a relief to me because I died on stage 2. Got my ultimate game over there, and it was like, you got no more continues, and then the counter like went down, and then it like went back to the title screen. I was like, nuts, I have to start all over again. It's that kind of game. But then the next time when I hit game start, it was like level 1 or level 2, and I was like, oh, good.
That's good.
Yeah, so I was able to clear many more levels that way. There are a total of 9 stages, which sounds like not a lot. But like I said, they're giant maps. And here's the other thing. This game, being an exploration type of thing, actually does have not only an achievement, but a real in-game incentive to collect the giant purple gems that I mentioned earlier, are usually scattered in hard-to-reach places across the stages. And there's a nice little accomplishment section in the main screen which tells you exactly how many there are in a stage and how many you've collected so far. And when you go back to the stage, of course, they'll be like ghosted out, so you'll know that you've already gotten them. Every time you collect all the big diamonds in a stage, it will add 1 continue to your permanent stock of continues. So that's huge to get through the later levels because, you start with 2 continues. What if you had 5 continues,
Yeah.
So that's really, really cool. And plus, again, there's separate achievements for beating the level and then beating the level with all the diamonds. And then, of course, a big old trophy for getting all of the diamonds in total. And I believe that gets you a whole nother ending, too.
Ooh.
Yeah, so you actually get it because I don't know that because I didn't beat the game yet, but it's in the achievement list. It says got the ending with all the diamonds. So I figured that's what's there. So yeah, that's just like a ton of replay value to me. It does because it's a retro game. By default, it has scan lines. Fortunately, the game lets you take them out, which is great.
Thank God.
I absolutely did that. The other thing is because this was originally developed for the Neo Geo, it actually is a 4:3 game, so it has sidebars. You have several different wallpapers that you can choose from, but they don't show you what the wallpaper image looks like without the game, so they're incomprehensible. I have no idea what these are supposed to be pictures of. It's just the sides of... And I'm like, okay, that's fine, whatever. But ultimately, yeah, this is one of those kind of games that not only makes me feel like indie developers are making better games than the original games that inspired them, which is really huge. It just shows that, like, man, we are not wanting for amazing games that play like the games we grew up with that are like brand new. And like, I felt that all over this game. Like, it was so tight and like everything is so fun and big and explosive, and like the difficulty is it's there, but it's like balanced. Oh, and I should mention that some of the stages actually are a shmup like the previous game. So like level 2, for instance, is an actual side-scrolling shmup, which is great. I really love when games switch it up like that. Yeah, I felt real positive about this game, and like I said, I just couldn't believe how absurd it started, and then but it's actually like it's there. Like the whole game like really feels like it's there and solid and like awesome.
Nice. Then for $10, your verdict?
I honestly can't believe it's only $10. This game is like of the caliber that I usually would expect to see for like twice that much. So I would say, and I'll say this much, like I played it on the PlayStation 4. As soon as I got past level 2, I went and downloaded it on Switch. So I've actually bought this myself now.
Oh, nice.
So this is a great run and gun for people who are interested in it. I didn't even get into the soundtrack. The soundtrack is this pounding, awesome synthy Euro like stuff that will really remind you of like Chris Hulsbeck and like, all those great Amiga composers. Yeah, don't sleep on this one. If you're a fan of retro run and guns, this one is fantastic. And at the very least, look up that freaking intro. But this one is worth your pennies for sure.
Every time someone tells me that a game should be more expensive than it should be, I always get scared and I have to double check in the store and make sure that the cost is right.
Well, the cost has been $10 in the Switch shop since it came out in May, so I think it's going to be okay. This is one that, like, honestly, if they came out with like a physical version, I might even shell out the big bucks for a physical version because it's just this game is a freaking piece of art. Yeah, I have nothing but good things to say about this game. Nice. So, yeah.
All right. Well, that is it for this episode. We survived another one, everybody.
We did it.
Yay, teamwork makes the dream work. Another big thanks to Matt from Digerati for coming on and chatting with us. Really good chat. A lot of cool games coming out. They're out now on PlayStation 4. They come out next week on Xbox One, Christmas Eve. So keep your eyes peeled on the Xbox store for a treasure trove of Digerati goodness. But that is it for this episode. Anybody want to take the final words?
Sleep like your life depends on it, because it does. Don't ask me how I know. I just know. Important.
What?
That escalated.
I don't know what the fuck that was.
It was me. I'm tired, but I was like, I'll just go with it.